you ever traveled through time? We do it every day.
Asgardia is a country with a population of more than 1 million people from more than 200 countries on Earth. Asgardia gives everyone equal opportunities, no matter what their earthly status is.
It is possible to create and live in the future right now. Are you ready? Forward progress is the solution to the entire human race. Our mission is to bridge new horizons. In Asgardia, there is no limit to the universal development in the fields of technology, finance, and arts. Asgardia is a new space and digital economy which creates opportunities for the global economy. We deliver innovations. Do you want to get on board with us? We are developing various kinds of digital businesses, attracting them to the Asgardia platform that can be backed by the means of our umbrella, i.e. franchising of the Asgardia brand. We can not only attract investments into space programs from prominent institutional investors, but also affordable amounts from the citizens of Asgardia. We comprise of more than 1 million people.
Asgardia is a chance to realize one's dream. This is a dream-driven space nation. Asgardia is a chance to belong to a community of free-thinking enthusiasts, goal-driven dreamers, and fearless innovators, theorists, and scientists.
We are the first space nation. One humanity, one unity.
Asgardia.
We are creating
the future.
It will start in just a minute. To be precise, we'll start in 2 minutes. In 3 minutes at 5 past, just to give some people the chance to get involved if they aren't with us already. Two minutes till we start. And if you're watching around the world, welcome. And you're going to have a very, hopefully, interesting day today as we go through the work of the world's first fully functioning digital democracy, Asgardia. 1 minute to go. And you don't have to just speak when you're spoken to, everybody. It's whenever you want to speak. You know who I'm referring to. 1 minute till we start. Okay, let's start. Welcome, wherever you are in the world. I'm Len Potopic, the Chair of Parliament for Asgardia, the world's first space nation, a fully functioning digital democracy, and the first of its kind in history. We have 4 digital sittings, usually a year, of the Parliament, and this is the first of this year's sitting. That's 0008 for Asgardia in our calendar. It's 0009, sorry, for our calendar, or 2025, if you're using the Earth calendar. At these sessions, we do 3 things. First of all, we go through some technical procedures. Secondly, we go through legislation. And thirdly, we have a day of practical activity with speakers. And that's what we're doing today. Before we go any further, the good news is we have interpreters. That means that you can communicate in English, Turkish, Spanish, and Russian. To understand how to do that, let me start with our Russian interpreter to tell you how to use this facility. Welcome to our Russian interpreter.
Hello, Mr. Chairman. Hello, dear members of Parliament. Today we have a special session. We have guests, and there is some differences. So when they speak, it's all right. We have a simultaneous translation. When there are questions to the speakers, the questions are translated in a consecutive manner in the main room. So you don't need to switch to any other channel. I hope that's clear. Итак, добрый день. Сегодня у нас заседание, 3-й день. Пожалуйста, никуда переключаться вам не нужно. Вся информация будет в основной комнате, как доклад последующий, так и перевод вопросов к этому докладу. Желаем вам успешного заседания.
Thank you very much indeed. Let's move to our Turkish interpreter next.
Hello, thank you very much, Mr. Rapik. Değerli Asgardia parlamenterleri, Asgardia 2. Parlamentosu'nun 8. oturumuna hoş geldiniz. Oturumların 3. günündeyiz. Yine tercümanlarınız Eren ve Alper size Türkçe ve İngilizce eş zamanlı olarak tercüme yapacaklar. Türkçe tercümeyi Zoom pencerenizin alt kısmındaki küre ikonuna tıklayarak seçebilirsiniz. Söz aldığınızda tercih ettiğiniz dilde konuşmanız yeterli olacaktır. Sizin tüm söyledikleriniz diğer dile anında çevrilecektir. Hepinize verimli bir oturum dileriz. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. And thirdly, let's go to our Spanish interpreter. Greetings to you. Hello.
Sorry, I have technical issues with Zoom. Hold a second, please.
Okay, no problem. Well, hold on. Yeah. If you've just joined us, this is I think the 8th sitting of Asgardia in this session, in this term. We have unquestioned, without doubt, we are the most experienced legislative assembly online in human history. And
legislativo en la...
we can hear you now, yes.
Hello, Mr. Lamit. Thank you so
Yep.
much
No problem.
for waiting.
Good to have you
Estimados
here.
parlamentarios, thank you so much. Estimados parlamentarios, bienvenidos a este tercer día de la 8ª sesión parlamentaria del Parlamento de Asgardia. En esta sesión estaremos traduciendo en ruso, turco y español. En sus pantallas van a encontrar los idiomas disponibles, como ya saben, todos los que han estado aquí en otras sesiones. Por favor, les pedimos que hablen más despacio para hacer la mejor interpretación posible. No es necesario hacer pausas para la interpretación porque se está haciendo de una forma simultánea. El intérprete ruso explicó que tenemos invitados especiales hoy, así que no tienen que hacer...
Thank you very much indeed. And with that, let's go into our session today. First of all, a review of what we've done already. In a very busy schedule, I'm glad to say that we have done a huge amount of work. And I'm just looking at the agenda. Really, I have to say that I'm very proud of the efforts that we make to keep everything moving forwards. On day 1, we had the opening, as we always do, together with the opening of the session and the opening of the voting. If you have not yet voted, then please do vote. It's really important. We need to have a quorum, which is 50% plus one, before we can actually accept everything as officially recognized. That's really important from everybody's point of view, really. Otherwise, we are slightly wasting our time if we meet for 3 days and there's no formal outcome. There are a number of items for voting. The quorum is one of them, really. And then it's really technically, we call it the vote on the agenda, but it's really about the quorum. Then we've got the Asgardia Galactic Prime Directive Act, first reading. The Asgardia Competition and Fair Trade Act, second reading. The Asgardia Tax Act, second reading. The Asgardia Contracts Act, second reading. The Asgardia Copyright Act, third reading. And the Asgardia Consumer Protection Act, third reading. 6 items to vote for. You can vote yes, vote no, or abstain if you're not sure. But please do vote. It's very important, really, that you do that you register your opinion. Then yesterday, in the debates, we covered those items, and as well as that, we also covered the government tower, where the Prime Minister, Lena de Winne, who I see with us today, you're welcome, is here with us, and also the other person, and also we had the Mark Bogan, who is the Minister for Finance, who was with us too, and other ministers as well, and they are all welcome. All ministers and all parliamentarians are welcome to these events. And we finished roughly on time. Thank you to the interpreters who save us 75% of the time, so we can talk for longer. We can talk for less time and still get more done. Now, today is a very exciting day because we have the usual work, but also we have guest speakers. I will hand over the introduction to Lena de Winne, if that's okay, if you'd like to do that, Lena. Okay, yeah, I see her confirming that. So in a moment, it will be my pleasure to hand over to our Prime Minister to introduce our excellent guest speakers. We have 2 about a really interesting project taking us closer to Mars. Then we'll have work reports from the parliamentary committees. Then we will have our usual review of priority legislation that you think needs to be brought forward. There does not have to be any. It could be we don't add anything to the list we've got. That's A-okay. But I give you the opportunity to raise things at that point. Then we will, after 1700 UTC, we will have a summary of the voting, preliminary summary, my closing remarks, the national anthem, and the close. I expect we'll be finished by about 1800 UTC today. I think it might be earlier, but somewhere between 1700 and 1800 UTC, I think we'll be finished. So that's what we're doing. Very exciting. If you've got any questions, then please raise your hand at any time. If you have any problems with the translation, please raise your hand at any time. And in terms of the translation at the beginning, if there are any confusions, that's okay. We'll make sure that we will get the process working for our guest speakers. So let me move on to the second item. The guest speaker, one more thing. Once again, I can confirm that the Firefly, the space mission, which is taking Asgardia's national symbols to the moon for the first time in our history, is scheduled to land around 08:45 UTC next Sunday the 2nd of March. But we'll give you more information about that once we get closer. But that'll be an event which we will hopefully be able to watch together. So let's move on to the second item, the guest speakers. And let me hand over to our Prime Minister, Lena de Winne, to make the introduction. Over to you, Prime Minister.
Thank you and hello, and I will speak Russian to greet our guests, so please switch to the English room. So, уважаемые коллеги, сегодня у нас в гостях, на самом деле не в
Dear
гостях,
colleagues,
доктор Белаковский,
we are
парламента, то есть это
welcoming, and in fact, I'm his guest because Mark Belakowski is a member of parliament, but he is now a guest speaker, a very warm event.
Жан почему-то думает, что я говорю по-английски.
My
Sorry.
screen thinks that I'm
У нас
speaking
сегодня очень радостное
English.
событие,
Okay,
потому что
so
закончилась
we have a
полная
very
изоляция. Только первый
very
изоляция
glad
была
event. So
сказать,
the
что на Луну и на
isolation
Марс.
has just
Я знаю,
finished.
ты очень хочешь на Марс, но еще пока
Uh,
летим на Луну все.
so
Э,
some of you are
После
going
окончания
to the Mars, but
изоляции длительностью
first of all,
год
let's start with the
10
moon.
Асгардии Ксения Орлова
After a year,
прошла
the Asgardian
реабилитационные
resident Ksenia
процедуры,
Alova has finished
и
her
вот наконец-то
rehabilitation
мы смогли
procedures,
ее пригласить
and
на
we
сбор
managed to invite
присутствовать
her
нам сегодня.
for
Доктор
the
Белаковский является
session.
членом
She will
парламента
join us
и
today.
в течение
Dr.
года
Mark
прошла
Milakovsky is a member of
изоляция
parliament,
в рамках
and
сотрудничества
he was
Министерства
controlling
науки Асгардии
this
и
experiment, the one-year
Института
experiment.
нейробиологических проблем. Доктор Белаковский делал доклады каждый раз,
He
когда
made
были
the
заседания.
reports every time we had
Но
sessions
два гостя.
on behalf of the
Доктор
Institute
Белаковский,
of
который
Biomedical Problems. So
главный
we have two
менеджер
guests.
проекта, и доктор
Mark
Ксения
Belakovsky is the
Орлова,
chief
которая
manager of the
является
project,
второй
of the Sirius
исполнительный
project,
резидент
and
Асгардии,
Ksenia Alova, the second Asgardian
медик
resident,
и врач экипажа. Тоже она была
and the
и
crew
ученым, который
physician.
ставил
So
эксперимент.
she was also
Потому
the
что мы совершили
researcher and the test object at the same time
медицинский эксперимент,
in this
проводится
experiment.
на людях. Люди
This
по их
experiment,
собственной воле, все по
it
закону.
has
И она является
voluntary
медиком, который в
test
течение года для 6
people who are
членов
subject of
экипажа
research, and
оказывала
also
все
she
необходимые
was doing the research
технические
herself at the
услуги,
same time.
поддержку, то есть они реально имитировали полет на
So
Луну,
this
после чего,
this was
кроме обмена
simulating the
информацией
real
и
flight to the
человеческого
moon.
времени,
So
не было
they didn't have
связи с
anything
Землей.
except for
Поэтому
information
сейчас, как уже вы знаете,
with
происходит
the
сначала
schedule
доктор
delay.
Белаковский, а потом доктор
So
Орлова сделают
now, at
презентации,
first,
которые
Dr.
займут минут
Belakovsky
10
and
в
then
среднем, и потом будут
Ksenia Arlova will make their
задать вопросы.
presentations, each
И как уже
about 10
многие
minutes
сказали, еще раз напомню,
will last.
презентации на русском языке.
So the presentations are in
Очень
Russian.
попрошу включить слайды.
I will ask Linda
После
to
презентации
start the
будет
slides in a
возможность
minute.
поговорить.
And after the
Перевод
presentations,
вопросов
we'll
на
have a chance to talk
английского. Я
to
попрошу
the
всех, кто знает
speakers.
английский, говорить именно
I
по-английски,
will
а
ask
не на
all
своем
those
языке,
who
если есть
know
такой выбор,
English
просто
to
чтобы
speak
облегчить
English just to make the
последовательность, чтобы
translation more
докладчики
smooth
легче могли воспринять
and
перевод,
not
который
so
будет в
multi-step.
общей комнате. Еще раз подчеркну, мы со стороны
All the
правительства
translation will be
Асгардии и
heard in the main
Министерства
room.
науки
So, on
от
behalf of
всей
Asgardia
вас
and Ministry of Science
хочу
and
еще раз
Government,
подчеркнуть свою
I want
благодарность
to
за
underscore
сотрудничество,
and to express my
которое идет
gratitude
в рамках
to the
деятельности Асгардии по
Institute
космической эмбриологии. Напомню,
within the
все
frames of
оперативные
Asgardia's
технологии
activity
для этого не
as
требуют
to
во
space
время
embryology.
космической гравитации, защиты от космической
So
радиации
artificial
и репродукции
gravity
здоровья
and
в космосе.
protection from space
Вот как раз
radiation and
именно
health in
вопросы
space. These are
репродуктивного
three main
здоровья
areas
являются
and
ключевыми,
subjects
и коллеги в
for Asgardia.
ЗБМП,
So
группа ученых,
our colleagues
этим
from
занимается.
IBMP,
На
a
этом я
group of
передаю
scientists, are dealing with
доктору
them.
Белаковскому, а буду
So on
просить
this,
дать на экран
uh,
презентации доктора
so I
Белаковского.
want to invite
Если
Dr.
что, я
Belakovsky
буду
and
слайд
Linda,
вам
please share the
показывать.
screen for Belakovsky, for Mark Belakovsky.
Марк Смуилович, ваше слово.
Спасибо большое, госпожа Давина. Уважаемые дамы и господа, уважаемые коллеги, дорогие друзья, слайд номер 1. 14 декабря 2024 года в Государственном научном центре
2024,
Российской Федерации
the State Scientific Center, the Institute of Biomedical Problems, completed the first stage of the international project Sirius, scientific international research in unique terrestrial station. Under the scope of this project, IBMP, in cooperation with the leading Russian space industry organizations, relevant Russian and foreign institutes and research centers from the United States, the European Union, the United Arab Emirates, scientists and experts from 15 countries, conducted a series of simulative isolation experiments of 17, 120, 240, and 366 days duration, involving volunteer test researchers. The serious project experiments are aimed at studying the adaptive processes occurring in the human body when simulating a complex of spaceflight factors in a sealed facility with an artificial environment. The flight scenario concepts repose on simulating psychomedical effects of relevant events likely to occur for advanced space missions of cross-cultural and gender-mixed crews.
Следует отметить, что в
It should be
наземных
noted that highly professional physicians participated in the ground-based experiments, and two of them represented Asgardia, the first space nation. Victoria Kirichenko, who, if you remember, was a member of the 8 months flight, and Ksenia Orlova, having completed now the 366-day flight. To review the interim results, I would like to focus on the output of the 366-day Sirius 23 experiment, simulating spaceflight conditions beyond low Earth orbit and a long-term lunar mission, including on-planet operations. Significant replication factors implicate prolonged isolation and divorcement from familiar environment, separation from familiar environment, lack of sensory stimulation and monotony, limited communication and advanced self-sustainability, scarce expedition resources, and pursuit of an astronaut's challenging scientific and professional activity. The Sirius 23 experiment crew consisted of test volunteers as follows. Commander Yuri Chebotarev, flight engineer Angelika Parfenova, representative of the Russian Federation, physician Ksenia Orlova, who represented Russia and Asgardia as well, researcher Olga Mastitskaya, represented the Republic of Belarus, and Ksenia Sheshenina and Rustam Zaripov, they both represented Russia. A year in isolation is both psychologically and physically challenging, given the mission responsibility and the very extensive scientific and technical schedule carried out by the crew. I consider it necessary to recall as well that for the first time in history, in isolation project, the crew included 4 women at once, contributing to the alternate specificity and complexity of the experiment. During the Sirius 23, the crew performed routine docking and unloading operations of 4 resupply vehicles and performed 5 exits to the simulated lunar surface. Under the extravehicular activity program, a set of cognitive test studies was completed, including those related to the fulfillment of assignments of varying level of complexity in the lunar rover remote control. 3 experiment studies have been conducted using a universal computer stand for exercising joint operations of a human and an anthropomorphic robot. In the year-long experiment, the crew performed more than 70 scientific studies in the following areas: physiology, psychology, and psychologic and psychophysiologic research, immunity and metabolism examination, biochemical and biomolecular analysis. The data obtained allow us to identify an individual strategy for adapting the body to the long-term space flight conditions and some substantiate scientific methods for preventing negative impacts of the human-made environment. We assume that the results of our work will also find application in earthly medicine. As part of operational and technical research in the sealed facility conditions, various experimental equipment was tried out for later use in training complexes on board the ISS and the prospective Russian orbital station. Among the scheduled emergencies in the Sirius 23 program, it is worth noting a 21-day delay in the cargo vehicle arrival introduced into the experiment. According to the scenario, the vehicle did not enter orbit for technical reasons. Along with that, the repeated 36-hour sleep deprivation, carbon dioxide level increase in the sealed object environment, and periodic message blocking, stimulating the loss of two-way communication with ground services. Please note that the crew completed the scientific, operational, and engineering research program in full and got high marks of experts for their skillful actions during the isolation. Upon finalizing the experiment, pilot cosmonaut, hero of the Soviet Union and hero of Russia, special representative of the Russian president for international cooperation in space, Sergei Konstantinovich Krikalev, awarded the Sirius 23 experiment crew members with the Yuri Gagarin medals for their personal contribution to the implementation of space programs and projects. Having completed the year-long experiment, the crew members had target post-flight check and took a recovery course at the Yuzhnoye Vzmorye, which means South Beach, with health resort in Sochi, in Russia. According to medical monitoring, the health condition of all the members of Sirius 23 experiment is normal. As stated by the test researchers, they managed to switch, relax, and start adapting to everyday life. It is worth mentioning that in addition to the recovery and wellness procedures, the Sochi Integrative Medicine Clinic organized a ceremony of planting magnolias on the legendary cosmonauts alley. On 15th of May 1961, Yuri Gagarin planted the first magnolia tree on this alley after his flight.
Кстати, на этом слайде как раз доктор Кириченко, которая была у нас в
Here on this slide, you can see Victoria Kirichenko, who represented Asgardia in the previous experiment. All experiments within the Sirius program took place on the basis of technical and medical ground experimental complex of the IBMP, disposing of unique facilities for conducting simulative studies of space missions of various complexity and duration, including over 500 days, as well as platforms for simulating extravehicular on-planet activities. The training complexes and technique programs used in the GEC allowed to work out and improve the system of maintaining the necessary level of physical and psychological efficiency of crew members for long-duration space flights. To simulate the on-planet activities in the experiments, a functional virtual reality complex developed at the IBMP was used, providing maximum immersion in a complex technical environment and full interaction of test researchers with physical analogs. These include task-oriented training platforms for simulating low-gravity conditions, the so-called adaptive dehydration physical simulators. At present, the IBMP team started processing the extensive scientific content obtained during the experiment as part of Sirius scientific, operational, and technical programs. The International Scientific Project Sirius team will present the key research outputs at the 19th Conference on Space Biology and Aerospace Medicine to be held in October 2025 in Moscow. There is no doubt that the successful completion of complex ground-based techno-medical experiments brings us closer to achieving the common goal, the conquest of space by humans. Perhaps the time will come to discuss isolation studies involving married couples. which are declared as one of the stages on the way to fulfilling Asgardia's main mission, the birth of the first child in space. In conclusion, I would like to express my deep gratitude to the leader of Asgardia, Dr. Igor Ashobeli, Prime Minister Lena Devine, Minister of Science Floris Vuits, members of Parliament, and people of Asgardia for long-standing productive cooperation. I want to underline that we will conduct our conference mentioned above in English and Russian, and we invite all of you. We will provide the translation for you. So we invite all of you to take part in the conference. So finally, let me introduce the resident of the Asgardia, the space nation, the crew physician, Ksenia Orlova. She works at the Immune Physiology Laboratory at the Institute of Biomedical Problems of the Russian Academy of Sciences. She's a junior researcher, aviation and space medicine physician. Thank you for your attention.
You're mute, Lena.
Спасибо большое, доктор Белаковский. Я предлагаю, чтобы мы сразу
Thank you very much, Dr. Belakovsky.
доклад Ксении, а потом все
I
вместе.
suggest that we together listen to Ksenia's report, and then we can ask questions to both, if you agree.
Молчание — знак согласия.
So silence is agreement, as we say. So Dr. Ksenia Orlova, resident of Asgardia, physician of the Sirius 23 crew. Of the Sirius 23.
Уважаемые дамы и господа,
Dear ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon.
в течение года менеджер проекта доктор Белаковский
During the year, the project manager, Dr. Belakovsky, was introducing you to the events, taking part in the Sirius 23 experiment on the Asgardia's website and the Telegram channel, Dr. Orlova Asgardia Sirius, which published my diaries. I am very grateful to everyone who followed the news, and today I'm glad to greet you in person and thank you for the opportunity to address you. I would like to share with you some of the details of our work within the framework of the joint scientific program of Asgardia and the Institute of Biomedical Problems, the world's leading organization in the field of space biology and medicine. The program concerns the study of space flight and isolation impact on the female body, taking into account the importance of one of the main goals of the space nation, the birth of the first human child on near-Earth orbit. The findings serve as an extension of the Sirius 21 output by the crew physician and Asgardian resident Victoria Kirichenko. So the first slide, it shows one of our works we were conducting. There are a number of challenging issues on the way to achieving this goal. In the ground-based sealed facility, we failed to simulate the most dangerous factors for the body, weightlessness and the cosmic radiation effects. However, stress, the crew's mental feel and fatigue, increased exercise, shortcomings, etc. Can also significantly impact and affect women's health. To monitor the dynamics, each month in the sealed facility, we conducted a series of venous blood sampling to allow the IBMP physiologists to look not only at the dynamics of female sex hormones, but also those related to stress and changes in bone and mineral metabolism. This is especially important since during lactation, a woman shares, as you know, all her reserves, primarily calcium reserves and other trace elements, with a child. And the process, when missing adequate repletion, can lead to increased bone fragility and disruption risks. It is unacceptable in conditions of long-term space missions, as it will require very complex medical care. It is a well-known fact that both spaceflight and prolonged isolation, even in terrestrial conditions, negatively affect this vital science. Both Sirius 21 and our Sirius 23 experiments demonstrated some results, but the annual isolation data processing is still in progress. For the same purpose, we performed the HEAL monthly ultrasound examination, as you can see on the picture. This is the most practical model for rapid bone density change diagnosis. Why shall we conduct such tests on Earth? To be able to calculate and replete the required amount of microelements with nutrition. As we already understand, it will differ significantly from the usual earthly ratio, especially during the period of preparation and carrying of a pregnancy. In addition, we did great work with our microbiologist colleagues to change the composition of female microflora and develop autoprobiotic preparations to maintain the optimal composition. The study implied that during the experiment lead-up period, microflora samples were collected from the female crew members. Each person always has her own unique composition and numbering. And these samples were accepted as standard values in normal terrestrial conditions for each test subject. Further, probiotic capsules were developed on their basis, which were used periodically by girls with subsequent monitoring and control. It is assumed that long-term space flights will require constant use of such capsules, so it is already important to develop and test the most optimal formula to use to avoid discomfort. That is what we did in isolation, and the managers took our research observations and suggestions into account. Why is it of importance? The human mucous membrane microflora is a separate local world, a living world that also reacts to all spaceflight negative factors. Local dysbiosis may result in decreasing systemic immunity and contribute to microtraumatism, being a gateway for infection. This is also unacceptable in long-term space missions and subsequent childbearing. As an allergy and immunology specialist, I was particularly interested in joint research of women test researchers' immunity. It also involves taking blood. So thank you. It's the next slide shows it. Interestingly, the immune system is stable enough, and in order to see changes in it, long-term isolation experiments or long-term simulation of other spaceflight factors is necessary. Therefore, it was important for me to participate personally as a tester, to have a chance to assess the immune status of both my blood and by the crew members' real health situation, as well as for allergology direct examination for my FID thesis. Please, next slide. Asgardia inspired me not only for scientific research, but also for creative work. Knowing my interest in photography and videography, Asgardia presented me with an excellent piece of equipment before the experiment, thanks to which I conducted many unique and beautiful photo shoots.
Светодиодная лампа,
The
которую видно
LED
на
lamp
данном
accompanied me
снимке,
everywhere,
сопровождала меня повсюду.
both
И
in the
в
monthly
ежемесячном фотопроекте по
photo
изменению
project
внешности испытателей
to follow the
тоже
test
красочный
subject's
слайд,
appearance
пожалуйста.
modification. Next slide, please.
Да, вот результат
Here you see
подобного проекта.
the
Ну и
result
в
of such a
других
project.
творческих съемках,
And in
например,
other
в
creative
оранжерее,
photo shoots, for example, in the
также взяла
greenhouse,
с собой для чтения
I
свободное
also
время
took several
несколько
issues of
номеров
Room
журнала
magazine
«Рум»,
with me
что
to
вносило
read
разнообразие
and
и
to relieve in between,
напоминало об
which
участии
reminded me
в
of my
астронавтическом
participation in
конгрессе
the International
в
Astronautical Congress
2023 году в Баку.
2023 in
Пожалуйста,
Baku,
следующий слайд.
where
Да, где мне посчастливилось познакомиться
whereof I was
лично
lucky
с
enough to
главой
meet
нации
the head of nation,
Ашурбейлем.
Igor
Я
Rokhovich Ashurbeli, in
признательна
person.
за ту вдохновляющую беседу,
I am very
которая
grateful for that inspiring
способствовала моей
conversation that
уверенности
contributed to my
принять участие
confidence
в Сириус
to
23.
take part in
Именно тогда
Sirius
я ощутила
23.
важность
It was
и
then that I
ответственность,
felt the
возлагаемой на
importance
меня
and
миссии с
responsibility
учетом
of the mission
перспективных
entrusted to
целей
me,
Асгардия.
taking into
Пожалуйста,
account the
следующий
long-term
слайд.
goals of Asgardia.
Уже после изоляции
Already
меня
after
было
this
удостоено
isolation,
чести получить
I was honored
грамоту
to
главы
receive the
космической
certificate
нации и
of the head of the
заместителя
Space Nation
премьер-министра
from the
Асгардии
hands of
Лены
the Prime
Девины,
Minister of
которой
Asgardia,
я
Lena
также
Devine,
очень признательна
whom I am
за
also
оказываемую
much obliged
поддержку в период эксперимента.
for aligning herself with me
На
during
данном
the
этапе
experiment.
наши коллеги в
At
Институте
this stage,
метеобиологических
our
проблем,
colleagues at the
я в том числе,
IBMP and
осуществляют
myself in
обработку
particular
полученных научных данных.
are processing the
Результат
scientific
разговора
data
с учетом
obtained,
всех изоляций Сириус будет проводиться конференция 7
taking into
и 8
account all the
октября
Sirius
2023
isolation.
года, как и сказал
And the
доктор
results will
Белаковский.
serve as a basis for the
Будет
conference
осуществляться
to take place on the
онлайн-трансляция
7th and 8th of
поэтому
October
очень ждем
2025,
всех
as
вас в качестве
Mark Belakovsky
слушателей
said.
и участников.
The translation
Спасибо
will
за
be
внимание.
provided both in simultaneous and other mode. So thank you all for your
Спасибо
attention.
большое, уважаемые коллеги.
Uh,
Я предлагаю
Thank you, dear
теперь
colleagues.
послушать вопросы
Now
из
I invite
зала.
you to
Или
listen to the
вопросы к тому,
questions
о
from
той
the
картине,
audience
которую впервые встречает парламент
to
Асгардия.
Mark and to Ksenia for the first time here.
So I suggest you just go ahead in the regular manner and raise hands, and I hand over back to Lembit. It's just question and answer in the regular manner.
Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, Ksenia, and also Dr. Belakovsky. We're really proud of the work you have done, and that we are part of it, and the fact that you have done so much to push us forward towards the moon and Mars is exciting, and it does indicate our head of nation's truly visionary attitude towards the future. Ariadne, then John. So Ariadne next.
Я только напомню, что мы переводим последовательно. Just to remind that we do translation into Russian sequentially in the main room.
Mm-hmm. So Ariadne.
And in English, please.
Saludos muy especiales. Realmente seguimos a diario.
Hello, it's a special congratulations.
Can you please speak English? It's difficult to
English.
make the...
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
We can do it the other way if you want, but let's see if we can do it in English. Otherwise, we can get our interpreters into the main room as well.
Congratulations. We follow Kesia Orlova by the Telegram network. And that's wonderful because we feel so close the situation to stay in the space in the future. When I saw the idea to create the possibility to cultivate trees of magnolia, I feel so great because it's the most sustainability material to
Stop
create
there.
satellites.
Wait now for the
in
translation.
space.
Okay, hold on.
Magnolia is wonderful.
1
I
minute.
love that idea because I saw about the
Wait.
sustainability possibilities to create these satellites with that material.
Wait, 1 minute. Let us get the
And
translation. Wait.
I saw the
Ariadne, hold on.
difference.
Ariadne, wait 1 minute. 1 minute. We get the translation, then you continue. This is the old way again. So translation, please, to Russian.
Так, в основной комнате не слышно переводчиков. Я переведу, что Ариадна вас приветствует, и она все это время наблюдала за новостями, читала дневники Ксении, подписана на телеграм-канал, и сейчас особенно рада увидеть церемонию с деревьями магнолии, потому что они несут в себе особый смысл. Пока были только комментарии, пока вопроса не было. Ariadne, we can continue, but please make pauses.
Yeah, Ariadne, yeah. Speak for 30 seconds and then pause, please. Ariadne. Ariadne, you're on mute. You're on mute.
And never stop talking.
We've got very used to Ariadne.
Now you can understand me?
Yeah, we can hear you now, yes. Yeah.
And you need to make pauses
I
after
don't know
30
what
seconds.
I use because I need to put out my headphones to don't feel the complex to hear me in Spanish and also in English.
Okay,
well,
let's do 30 seconds at a
I don't know
time.
if you hear the things that I said about the magnolia, but yes, okay. Well, the most important is in this moment here for all the people that follow us in internet, say that it's not a joke to stay in isolation as an astronaut, because the most interesting things that Kesia Orlova explains is the situation that we can discover changes in the world, in the body of people in isolation. And that situation for the future is very important. And the last thing that I say is about the international station, because the
Все, кто следят за нами в интернете, хотел бы сказать, что это действительно не шутка быть астронавтом. Как я вижу, происходят очень заметные изменения в человеческом теле в изоляции.
Ariadne, you're on mute again.
I don't know why I put off.
Ariadne,
well, that's all. Thank you very
Ariadne.
much, and congratulations to Kesia and Dr. Belakowski. Thank you very
Спасибо
much.
большое, и мои поздравления Ксении и доктору Белаковскому.
Colleagues, please allow me to reiterate again. You please speak English. Make a pause after you've spoken for about 30 seconds if you made a statement, or if you have a question, you complete the question and then make a pause, please.
Thank you. Let's go to John next. So John, 30 seconds and pause. 30 second pause. I'm sure there's a better way of doing this, but let's do it this way today. I think probably we can get the interpreter into the main room, but let's do it this way.
Thank you, Lambert. I appreciate that. First off, I want to thank the team for their presentation, and it's inspiring to know that Asgardians are taking part of such an important work.
Во-первых, хотел бы поблагодарить команду за вашу совместную презентацию, и я бы хотел сказать, что нас очень вдохновляет, что вот такая работа проводится у нас в Асгардии.
My question is for Dr. Belakowski.
Мой вопрос адресован доктору Белаковскому.
The current space news tells us that Russia has a new administrator for their space program. How do you predict his support towards your research?
Вот сейчас мы слышим в новостях, что недавно в России появился новый глава космической администрации. Как вам кажется, какова будет поддержка с его стороны нашему начинанию?
And
Нет, я позвольте уточню. Появился новый глава Роскосмоса, и какова будет поддержка его ваших исследований, именно МБП?
Окей. Можно отвечать?
Да.
Да. Первое. У нас новый руководитель космического агентства. Молодой, энергичный,
He's young, energetic, highly professional
руководитель.
manager.
Всего 39 лет, но
He's just 39,
как высокого класса профессионал.
but he has already established himself as a high professional.
Carry on, John. Is that your question?
Будут некоторые перемещения.
There will be some changes within Roscosmos, but I want to draw your attention that our institute is the head organization, and we are within the Ministry of Higher Education structure. Yes, he will probably visit our institute, and I'm sure that our research will no doubt be supported.
My next question is, in what ways do you perceive moving forward next?
Мой следующий вопрос касается того, какие вам видятся дальнейшие шаги в направлении того, что мы делаем сейчас.
Ну, вы знаете, несколько слов сперва о планах института.
Just to start with, a couple of words regarding our plans of the institute. If it goes as scheduled, in summer, we will launch a biological satellite with plenty of biological objects, mice and so on. And also, as we are planning to launch a Russian orbital station, so this is the first step. So, as far as the human space flights are concerned, we have broad perspectives to conduct Russian and international research. As to ground-based experiments, so we are now determining what steps we will be taking in the future. Including following the Sirius program. And here in this context, also drawing the results of the Sirius 23 experiment are crucially important to plan the next activities. Also including the research by our physicians of Asgardia. And together we will decide on our next steps.
Спасибо вам. Thank you very much.
Okay. And I'm just checking now. Did we get the translation of that? Because I was in the main room. Apologies if... Yeah, okay, great. Okay, let's carry on. Thank you. Professor Sabahatim next, then Fada, then Benedetto. Sabahatim.
Thank you very much. I would like to presentation. It's very nice, Professor and Senia. I follow to your experiments in the internet and Asgardia web page.
Спасибо большое. Во-первых, хотел бы поблагодарить доктора Белаковского и Ксению за презентацию. Очень интересно. И также хотел сказать, что я слежу за вашими экспериментами как на странице Асгардии, так и на страничке эксперимента.
Yes, I am interested is physical education and sports. I uh, I want to ask about to physical education trainer in the Sirius orbit, and what do you think about in the Sirius trainer programs? What do you think about physical education and sports training programs? And I want to ask to Senia, what is your famous sports? Which sports try about you?
Ну, мой вопрос касается физической культуры и спорта. Вот хотел бы спросить по поводу тренера по физической культуре в программе «Сириус». Что вы думаете о программе тренинга, да, вот программе для тренеров, для программы «Сириус»? И второй вопрос к Ксении. Он касается любимого вида спорта. Какой у вас любимый вид спорта, Ксения?
Наверное, мы разделим ответ на две части.
So probably we'll divide the question into two parts, the answer into two parts. I will answer the first. In our institute, we have a special department which deals with special training methods. It is headed by a very experienced professor,
Елена Фомина.
Елена Фомина, so who received the premium named after Gagarin. She conducts a huge amount of work and personalized programs for every member of the space flight. So, Ksenia, what are your favorite sports?
Окей.
Да, большое спасибо за вопросы.
Thank you so much for your questions and comments.
Озвученные, очень приятно.
I am very pleased.
Касательно физических тренировок.
So, as regards physical training, yes, of course.
Достаточно много времени в изоляции уделял физической
A lot of time in isolation was given to physical training. Several load type programs have been developed. We were exercising and on active and passive treadmills and on the velo ergometer, bicycle ergometer. We were guided by the managers from the institute who were interested in our successfully completing these programs, and maybe they changed it somehow. Also, they asked whether we could stand this level, or maybe it should be decreased or increased. As to me, my favorite was this velo ergometer, the bicycle ergometer, and the passive treadmill, because I could control the ratio which is comfortable for me. Because the active treadmill, it has a pre-designed program which you should fulfill, and the passive treadmill you can control yourself according to your own condition. So, as I'm not a great fan of jogging, so I used to choose the passive treadmill. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. Verda, Benedetta.
Thank you very much.
Ricky. Verda.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to meet you at the Baku exhibition, and I'm happy to see you here. I am curious about the social interaction after the experiments with your family and other people.
Спасибо большое. Рада была встретить вас как в Баку, так и здесь сейчас. Меня интересует следующая тема. Как бы вы охарактеризовали социальное взаимодействие после эксперимента? Например, вот с
Was it
вашей
awkward or not?
семьей и близкими. Было ли оно несколько странным или нет?
Большое спасибо за вопрос.
Thank you very much.
Действительно, ощущались изменения, потому что в изоляции у
Yes, we
нас
really
были
felt the
ограничения
changes
по связи,
because in isolation we had some
были связаны с тем,
limitations
что у нас была
in
возможность
communicating.
общаться только по локальной
So
электронной
we only
почте
had the
с
possibility to
семью
communicate
заранее
via
выбранными контактами.
local
И не
network
было
with
никакой
7
видеосвязи,
pre-chosen
связи с родными и
contacts, and
близкими.
we didn't have
Ну,
any
конечно
video
же,
communication with
накладывало
our
свой отпечаток, тем более
with the
такой
closed ones.
длительный период, как
So
целый год.
it had
И
its
я
imprint
действительно
on
очень
our
соскучилась
condition
именно по голосу своих
during the
родных,
year,
по
and of course I
даже
missed
внешнему
the
виду.
voice and the outlook of my
И когда находилась в
close, my
изоляции,
relatives.
представляла себе,
And when in
как они выглядят,
isolation,
как они
I
изменились, потому
used
что
to
были, по сути,
imagine
только
how they look
фотографии
like
и ничего
today,
больше. И,
because I had only
конечно,
photos and nothing
очень
more.
было радостно,
And of course, I
и,
was
наверное, это
very,
самое
very
главное
glad,
было мое желание
and it
после
was my
изоляции,
first
это сразу встретиться
desire
с родными,
after
хотя у нас еще был
isolation to
период
meet
обсервации в
my
течение 2
near
недель,
ones.
когда мы находились
But
в
of course, we
стенах
had first we had the
института,
period of
чтобы не было
observation for 2
достаточного
weeks
контакта с
within the walls of the
окружающей
institute
средой и
to
инфекцией.
separate
И
us from the infections
этот период,
in
этот
the
момент
outside.
встречи, он был
So
еще
this
дальше
moment of meeting,
перенесен и,
it
конечно,
was
был
moved
очень желанным и
even
волнительным.
further, but it was a very desired one.
Thank you very much. Fascinating. Really interesting, actually. Really, I had not considered that myself as a dynamic which would be of interest, but it is. Benedetto, Sarah, finally Ricky.
Hello to everyone. Thank you for this presentation. I have 2 questions for you, Ksenia. The first one is, what are the limitations of this type of simulation compared to an actual space mission? And the second one is, what has been your biggest burst of laughter during the mission? Thank you.
Excuse me, could you repeat the second one, please?
What has been your biggest burst of laughter during the mission?
Burst of the, I don't understand the biggest.
I wrote the question in the chat for you.
Okay,
Elena.
let me find it.
It was for Elena.
Sorry, I'll just go into it now.
Probably it's burst of laughter.
Oh, burst of
Yeah,
biggest,
misheard
the
you.
funniest
Yes.
thing. Yeah,
I
got it.
appreciate you. Yeah,
Got
go
it,
ahead.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, got it.
Спасибо большое, всех приветствую. Вот у меня оба вопроса адресованы к Ксении. Во-первых, хотел бы узнать, каковы ограничения вот такого вида симуляционного эксперимента по сравнению с настоящим космическим полетом. И второй мой вопрос, над чем вы больше всего смеялись в ходе вашей миссии?
Большое спасибо за интересные вопросы.
Thanks a lot for the interesting questions.
Относительно первого.
Regarding the first one,
У нас эксперимент проходил в гермообъекте, то есть
so
это
our experiment took place in a sealed facility, so it's a model, ground-based model of a space ship, which consists of several modules.
Было ограничение
So
в
we had
контакте с окружающей
a
средой,
limitation of contacts with outer space, outer environment. We had our own environment, so we didn't have any windows, no possibility to exit, to look outside.
никаких дополнительных возможностей
no
контактировать
other additional possibilities to contact
близкими, с вообще людьми,
the
потому что
relatives or any other
были
people
похожие как на МКС
because
сеансы связи с наземным
we only had
управлением,
the
с задержкой видео
communication
обращений в 5 минут
communication
и
moments
с
similar
окном
to those
каждые
at
2
the
часа. То
ISS
есть
with a 5-minute
созданы
delay.
такие же условия, как и на МКС в этом
So
отношении.
exactly simulating
Но помимо
these
этого
ISS
какого-то
conditions.
дополнительного общения не было. Не было
So
интернета,
besides
не было
this, we
мобильных
didn't have
телефонов.
any other
Конечно
means
же,
such as
достаточно
internet or
большие
mobile phones
ограничения
or
по питанию.
anything
У
else.
нас
Also a lot of
питание было
limitations in
практически такое же, как у
food.
космонавтов,
So we
астронавтов.
had basically the
Это
same
сублимированные
food
продукты,
as
консервы,
the astronauts do.
какие-то
So
тюбики,
this sublimated
без
and
возможности как-то
freeze-dried
приготовить
products
еду. Это только
as
добавить горячую воду
they
и
usually
топить в
consume.
микроволновке.
So only we could add some hot
Были
water or
и другие
warm
ограничения, и
something up in
в
a
том числе
microwave.
какие-то
So we also had other
специальные ситуации,
limitations,
которые
some
приближены
emergency
к
situations which
космическим
were
условиям.
close to
Например,
those
на
of
МКС
possible at space
есть
conditions. For
отдельная
instance, at
техника,
the
связанная
ISS,
с
they have a separate
получением, прибытием транспортных кораблей,
separate
которые поставляют
work
оборудование,
which is connected,
дополнительное
which is
питание,
related to
какие-то
the
подарки от родных. То же
supply
самое
of
было и у нас.
goods by a
У нас
cargo
в
ship.
течение
We also
года
had
было
the same
4
situations. We
таких
had
грузовых корабля,
4
и на
so-called cargo
МКС
ships.
обычно это сложный период, потому что
During the
необходимо достаточно
ISS
быстро все
missions,
разгрузить,
this is
сразу все разложить по
a
местам,
very
и
complex
он
period
связан
because you need
с
to
такой
unload it
физической нагрузкой,
very
как
quickly,
депривация сна. И
and
вот у нас
also it
также была эта
entails
депривация сна в течение
such
38
things as
часов, то
sleep
есть
deprivation,
нельзя было
and we also
долго
had such
спать,
sleep
даже закрывать
deprivation
глаза.
periods for
Она
36
действительно по
hours,
камерам.
so you could not
И
sleep,
в
and
этот
moreover, you
период
could
мы
not even
обязательно
close your eyes
проводили
because we were
стыковку
watched
и разгрузку
by
грузового корабля,
the managers through the cameras,
перенос вещей на склад
via
и
cameras,
так далее.
and
Плюс,
during
конечно
these
же,
periods of
другие
deprivation, we
научные
exactly
методики,
had
которые
this
очень
unloading of
интересны и
cargo
важны для
ships
всех
and
исследователей
placing the goods
в
at the
связи с
storage room.
влиянием на
This is
организм
very
такого
important to
стрессового
study
фактора.
the organism
Также у нас
and
были
how
другие
such
нештатные
stress
ситуации,
factors
воспроизведены,
affected.
похожие на те,
Also,
которые
we
в
had
космическом полете.
other
Например,
situations,
внезапная
for
как бы
instance,
поломка оборудования и резкое
as if
повышение
an
уровня
accidental break
углекислого газа в
or
модулях. Конечно,
breaks
это было искусственно создано, но
or
вполне
some
возможно, что может
sharp
быть и на
decrease
космической
in
станции.
the
И
carbon dioxide
это было
levels.
важно
Of course,
и
it
для
was artificially
физиологов,
designed, but
как наш
it
организм
could well
реагирует
happen
на
in
такие
real life.
эффекты, и для
So how
психологов,
we can
как мы
react
будем
and how our
взаимодействовать в таких
organisms
условиях.
are reacting,
И
how we can
в целом,
coordinate our
как
actions.
команда
All
себя
this
поведет
was studied.
в такой ситуации.
All
На
this has
самом
been
деле
studied
очень
during the
много
experiment.
того, что похоже
In
с
fact,
реальным космическим полетом,
quite a lot of
наверное,
things
так все
similar to
сразу и
real
не
flight
перечислим.
missions
И
happened.
отвечая на второй
And
вопрос,
answering the second part of your
ну,
question,
наверное, еще стоит, конечно же, добавить, что
and
у нас
also I
было
could add
5
that
некорабельных
we had
деятельностей.
5
Это выход на лунную
EVA
поверхность,
activities,
ну, на
so
лунную, на имитацию лунной
exiting to
поверхности,
a
работа
simulation
на
of
ней,
moon
что
surface.
тоже очень
We were
в
walking
какой-то
there,
степени приближало нас к
and also
реальности,
it was quite close to
потому что у
reality
нас на макете лунной
because
поверхности
in our
есть стенд с
model
обеспечиванием
of
всего
the
объекта,
lunar
то есть
surface, we
с
have a
воспроизведением
special stand
лунной
with
гравитации,
simulating
которая
lunar
равняется
decreased
1/6
gravitation, which is
от
1/6
веса
of
Земли.
that of
И
the
все это
Earth's
мы пытались
gravitation,
воспроизводить, то есть очень похоже
and
на
we try to
реальность. И что
to
касается
simulate
второго
all these.
вопроса,
And as to the second
самые
part,
смешные, забавные случаи,
the most funny moments,
наверное, они связаны с
I think maybe
какими-то
they're
командообразующими
connected
мероприятиями,
with some
праздниками.
team building
Они для нас были очень
activities,
важны. Мы каждый
which
праздник
were quite
ждали
important
с
to us.
нетерпением.
We were waiting for every
Очень к ним
holiday
готовились, потому что
with
деятельность
anticipation, because usually we had some routine activities, nothing changed, and of course we were expecting that we can finally have something funny. And also it was funny when we were trying to fight the desire to sleep during these deprivation periods. It was quite funny, yeah. I think that's all. That's all, because my answer is long already.
I did an experiment to see how little sleep I could live with, and I managed to reduce it to 4 hours every second night, but I don't want to do that again. Let's go to Sarah, so you can translate that, and then we'll carry on. All right, let's carry on. Ricky is next. I thought, Sarah, you're next, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, go, Sarah.
First, thank you both very much for being here today, and for your invaluable contributions, not only to Asgardia, but to the future long-term success in space.
Yeah, hold on. We'll do the translation bit by bit.
Во-первых, хотел бы поблагодарить вас обоих, и в частности за ваш бесценный вклад как в дело Асгардии, так и в дело дальнейших космических исследований.
Thank you. My question is two parts. First, could you share which nutritional biomarkers are tracked to assess deficiencies and immune compromising factors under the conditions on which you state? And secondly, which large-scale, I guess, interventions do you think would be necessary to support immune function in space?
Мой вопрос состоит из двух частей. Какие нутриционные биомаркеры вы бы назвали, которые влияли на ваш эксперимент? И второй, excuse me, could you repeat the second one, please?
It's quite complicated language. Is there a simpler way of saying it?
It is. Okay, so during the initial presentation, there was talk of individual supplementation to maintain healthy immune levels in the ladies that took part. But on a larger scale, I was just wondering what what interventions what supplementation, what support do they think would be needed for success in long-term space habitation?
В плане более масштабном, да, если говорить не о индивидуальном питании для поддержания здорового иммунитета женщин, а в более широком масштабе, что понадобится для успешности проведения длительных экспериментов в будущем, как вы думаете? Это вторая часть вопроса.
Большое спасибо за вопрос.
Thank you so much. The nutritional biomarkers. I'm not a manager for this technique, for this method. It's difficult for me to list them all, but what we for sure did, the calories consumption. We had a special program, the intake diary. We should have listed all our food intakes there, and write it down, and also all the components, all the main components were listed there. Carbons, fat, and so on. So also we had blood intake and biochemical as well. And also there were these laboratories where we sent it, could have evaluated all the changes, but by now I don't know the results yet. And the second thing, what can be taken into account, as far as I understood it, for the future space missions
разнообразие этого
food. So
питания.
for me,
И вовсе это не означает,
for me, I would like it to be more diverse. It's not that it's not that every day I wanted something new, but we had only 4 supplies during the year, and they did little to change the menu, but it could be useful to make some additional steps, maybe to not to get used, and also to, as a result, to dislike some of the products. I think that it could be achieved by way of limiting yourself on your own. For instance, you are consuming this amount of products during this month. During the next month, it is still present. This product is still present on board the ship, but you don't consume it. After a month, you also stop disliking it, and you treat it as a new product, and you once again start liking it. So because as we had it, in some periods we didn't want to eat at all, and so we tried to combine the products in this or that way. I would like to add a bit to the second part, if possible.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep, go ahead.
Можно ли мне добавить пару слов?
Да, мы слушаем, Марк.
Да, можно, да. В этом эксперименте Ксения сказала о том, что 400 были корабли,
которые... So Ksenia said that in this experiment we had 4 supply ships, but I would like to remind you that in 2011 we finished a unique experiment, which is still the Mars 500 experiment, which is still a model one. So we had the same, we had in this case no resupplies in Mars 500. Because it's very important are the volume and the shelf life of the products.
Ксюша уже говорила по поводу разнообразия.
So Ksenia mentioned the diversity of food.
Вне всякого сомнения, должны быть и свежие продукты типа оранжереи и так далее.
Of course, in addition to this canned food and freeze-dried food, there should be some fresh food, maybe supplied by the greenhouse as well. So this by our onboard greenhouse. So these questions should be raised, no doubt. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll take 2 more, and then we need to move on with our business. Ricky and finally Ariadne. Ariadne's asked a question already, but briefly. So Ricky.
Yes, thank you. Great presentation. I really enjoyed that. I also enjoyed following what you were doing in the diary. My question is has any agencies or groups outside of Russia shown interest in the work that you've done, and maybe comparing their findings, your findings, or vice versa, to see how, if they're having similar outcomes or the same outcome. That's all.
Во-первых, спасибо большое. Хотел бы поблагодарить вас за ваши презентации. Мне они очень понравились. Также хотел бы заметить, что слежу за дневником очень внимательно. Это же очень интересно. И вот у меня такой вопрос. Есть ли какие-либо агентства или группы, например, за пределами России, которые проявляют интерес к вашей работе? Или сравнивали бы какие-то итоги своих исследований с вашими, и вот каков был итог этого сравнения, если таковые имели место? Спасибо.
Спасибо большое за ваш вопрос.
Thank you a lot.
Вопрос очень важный для нас всех.
That's very important for all of us.
Вопросы связаны с кооперацией,
Which the questions, the issues that are connected with cooperation and so on.
Космических полетов установилось замечательное отношение между специалистами в области космической биологии и медицины многих стран.
I would like to state that good relations between the specialists in cosmic space biology and medicine have been established with specialists in many countries, from the European Space Agency and the International Space Station. So our institute has relations with roughly 50 countries. So not only some paper relations, but we also work together in some in launching some satellites, biological satellites, for instance. For instance, this program was started together with NASA and European Space Agency and the United Arab Emirates, and also representatives of 15 other countries. And this cooperation, of course, it paves the ground to distant space. So we are trying to keep these relations alive.
Thank you very much. Last question. We could go on, but we need to get on with the business. So, and by the way, okay. Last question to Ariadne, if you can make it fairly brief, because you spoke before.
I remember it into the dairy that brought Kesia Orlova, the episode with a cereal, with a dehydrated fruit. Some parts of cereal, some portions don't have the same number of fruits, and she needs to think what to do, because it's very complex. If in the same breakfast share to the people different parts of the cereal with different number of dehydrated fruits. Yes, I think it's a real and truly complex problem to create new food for the astronauts in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them thinking in insects as a protein, a real protein, to create this a vast into the dispense of the flies in the future.
Mm.
And I don't know, many people write books about cook, but I don't see books about a space cook. What do you think, Kesia?
Last question, over to you.
Да, Ксения, это вопрос вам. Я вот помню такой эпизод в дневнике. Вы описываете такую сцену за завтраком, когда вы столкнулись с тем, что в овсянке обнаружилось неравное количество фруктов в пакетиках, и вы столкнулись с такой проблемой, что нужно было распределить как-то эти порции, потому что не у всех было равное количество. Это такая очень серьезная проблема была заметна. И мне кажется, просто вообще очень сложно создать новую еду для астронавтов вообще в будущем, если говорить. Вот сейчас говорят про использование насекомых в качестве белка, например, белковой пищи в полетах. Вот сейчас многие люди пишут вообще книги о готовке, да, о кулинарии, а вот таких книг о приготовлении космической еды я вот как-то не встречала. Вот что вы об этом думаете, вот о будущем космической еды, вот какие у вас мысли? Спасибо большое.
Большое спасибо за необычный вопрос и за
Thank you for this unusual question and your understanding
очень приятно.
of what
На самом
was
деле,
written in the diary. I'm
действительно,
quite pleased.
есть особенность
In fact,
космического рациона
of
питания,
course, there
связана
is
с
a
метаболическими
peculiarity of
изменениями в
space
организме
diet
человека в связи с
as a result of
влиянием
metabolic
невесомости. И
changes
у нас были применены те же самые
which are
рекомендации,
a result of
что и для астронавтов.
weightlessness.
То
We had the
есть
same
это 55%
recommendations so
углеводов,
as astronauts do,
дальше чуть позже
55%
там
of
30 жиров и чуть
carbohydrates,
меньше
so
белков. И, конечно,
30% of
для нас
fat and
с условием наземного эксперимента
so
было
taking
достаточно
into account
сложно
our
привыкнуть к тому, что вроде на нас же
ground-based
невесомость не
conditions,
влияет, а мы должны есть с
it was
учетом
quite
того, что
unfamiliar
необходимо
to us
для
because the
именно
weightlessness in
астронавтов.
fact did not affect
И
us, but
действительно,
still we had to eat the
очень
same
не хватало белка,
astronauts
это
do.
правда. И многие из членов экипажа старались как-то этот
And
вопрос для себя решить. Кто-то
in fact,
заказывал у родных и
the
просили
protein
поставить с
deficiency
подарками
was
протеиновые
quite
батончики. И что-то
significant,
еще
quite obvious, and
разрешили нам
we had
поставить. Это тоже непростая задача, так как
and
комиссия все
and
проверяла.
the commission
И,
which
конечно,
checked all the supplies
когда
allowed
идти
to
речь
supply
о
some protein
длительных
bars
космических полетах,
additionally to us.
безусловно, думаю, здесь
In fact,
возникнут
when
свои
there are real
книги
space
рецептов,
missions,
потому что
they will have
в таком
some
меню
specialized food
непростом
books will be
начинает
made.
совершенно
I think
по-другому
because
работать мозг
for
в
this
отношении еды. Начинаешь
to
придумывать какие-то сочетания,
to
которые для
create
Земли просто
some
могут
food
быть
in
абсолютно
such
непонятными,
conditions,
но они важны
your
и
brain
были
starts thinking of
приятны
combining
для
the products which you
использования
would not
в изоляции или
combine here on
условно
Earth,
в
but
длительном космическом полете.
this could be quite
И
pleasing
думаю,
in
что со
isolation
временем,
conditions.
да, конечно, появятся и
Yes,
такие,
with
к
time,
слову сказать,
I think
мы
that
для себя
such recipe
записывали
books
все придуманные нами
could
рецепты. У нас
appear in
были
future.
и
For
салаты из
ourselves,
углематов,
we
что
wrote down
вообще
all these
фантастически
things
звучит.
as this
Мы
fantastically.
старались что-то придумывать,
This
генерить, все
may
это
sound fantastic,
записывали
but
и даже
we
хотели
even
издать
had some
несколько
freeze-dried
рецептов,
products
но
salads.
это достаточно непросто,
We
и,
even
возможно, какие-то
thought of
эпизоды
publishing such a book,
из
but
этих
it's not so
рецептов
easy. Maybe
я
some
попробую
episodes,
опубликовать у себя в
some fragments
телеграм-канале,
of this
потому что это действительно
recipes
было
I
очень
will keep
необычно и
publishing
интересно.
in my diary
Спасибо.
because it's quite unusual and interesting. Yeah.
Thank you. That opens the possibility of whole new foods because of the creativity of our bodies to feed ourselves. Thank you, both doctors, for your talks. We could carry on, but we need to get on to business. I really appreciate everything that you have done, and I hope you will actually get to go to the moon and Mars as time goes by, because you are more
Спасибо.
qualified than most.
Спасибо большое. Благодарю вас обоих, доктор Белаковский, доктор Ксения. Я хотел бы отметить, что мы очень надеемся, что вы сами когда-то полетите на Луну или Марс. Вот, так что спасибо вам за ваш труд и за ваши чудесные презентации.
Thank you. And with
Thank you
that,
very much for you.
thank you both, and it's great to have you in our parliament, and great to have you, Dr. Oliver, as our guest, and one day you should join us too. Let us return now to the agenda, and the next item is the committee reports. You have 30 minutes to vote. if you have not voted, you have 30 minutes to vote. We close the voting in, 31 minutes. I will have a break in about 20 minutes just to enable people to vote if they have not. But you can vote now. Please do. We need to have a quorum. It's very important. So we will go through the committees in this order: science, finance, citizenship, foreign affairs, information and communications, trade and commerce, justice, youth and education, safety and security, equity and resources, manufacturing and culture. It's because that is the order in the state structure document. That's the only reason. And I will take questions in groups of 4 committees. So after we've had Luca, Sarah, Bridget, Ferda, then we'll take questions to those 4. So let's start with Luca. Over to you. And I will stop at about 20 minutes time. So please do vote if you have not voted. 20 minutes time. We'll have a break, roughly. So Luca, over to you.
Thank you, Chair, and hello, everyone. I'm going to be very brief, as been the case recently, mostly because the activity in the committee is really limited in this period of time. We also don't have assigned priority legislation, so we take it easy trying to understand how to proceed with our important the legislation we think it's important. So so far at this stage we have at least two things that we are working on. One is an act about people in space. We would like to be able to regulate the basic rights and duties of people once they get into space, for Asgardia, of course. And the second one is about the protection of the environment, both on Earth and in space. This is a very important piece of legislation that needs to be passed before we start actual activities in space, which we carry on when we are responsible for it, which is not the case yet, but this will come eventually, and so we need to be prepared with legislation. I also want to mention that this is becoming really evident now. It's becoming evident that it's important to have this kind of legislation. You've seen in the news recent facts. For example, the Falcon 9 rocket that was launched about 3 weeks ago. Some pieces fell into Polish land in Poland with risk of damaging human lives or even infrastructures. And these things are unacceptable. We shouldn't let these things happen, which means that there's need for very accurate legislation and regulation of the way space objects are managed. So we need to be careful with this one. Activities besides legislation is mostly still trying to understand how to do a launch of Asgardia 2 spacecraft or satellite. We will still discuss this event. Ariadne was proposing to use Magnolia, which was touched upon today, to build our next CubeSat for our experiment. But of course, this is still ongoing. And then last, I want to say that together with Angelo Adamo, we are starting to design a social science research on Asgardians. And I think that might be very useful to understand who are the people that still support us and still are with us, together with us. But this, of course, it's something really preliminary. We will reach out to the appropriate people and channels as soon as we have a bit more concrete ideas. I think this is all from me, and thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. I know you're busy with other things too, so I'm very grateful for the work that you do. We will take questions in groups of 4, probably. Let's see how the timing goes. So, Ariadne, I'll come back to you once we've gone through the next 3. Sarah, you're next from Finance.
Good morning, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good
Talk
afternoon,
relative.
everyone. Sorry. I'll get it right someday.
No, you're right. We're both right. That's the wonder of relativity in a way.
Well, good morning and good afternoon, good evening. I will make this as brief as possible while also speaking in a succinct way for our interpreters. This is the Finance Committee update. Oh, there we go. The Finance Committee is pleased to announce the second reading of the Asgardian Tax Act. Following its approval, feel free to vote for us. And with the approval of the first reading, the act was referred to the Legislative Merit Review Group, where it underwent comprehensive reviews and received valuable input from members across parliaments and governments. Our team has worked closely with the LMRG to refine the strengths of the Act, ensuring fair, transparent, and future-ready systems. Together, we have finalized the core principles to align with Asgardia's visions of fairness, transparency, and adaptability, initiated the developing of licensing and IP tax framework to encourage innovation while maintaining equitable contributions. Oops, gonna get that right someday too. Advanced efforts to enhance financial transparency with real-time public access and accountability. Took steps to strengthen taxpayer rights, ensuring privacy protection and fairness. Laid the groundwork for future-proofing the tax system to adapt to emerging economic and technological changes. We worked to establish clear compliance mechanisms with fair remedies and designed community investment strategies to reinvest resources into education, innovation, and sustainable initiatives. This collaboration has been intense and productive, and we are now focusing on finalizing the strategies and preparing for our next legislative phase. Thank you all for your continued support, and we are really, really excited and proud of the tax legislation we have put forward.
Thank you very much indeed. Very clear and nicely presented as well. I think that John Fine and Cheryl Gallagher has caused everyone to try really hard on their presentations. Thank you. Next, we have citizenship. If we have anyone from the Citizenship Committee, I don't think we do today. If I've missed someone, then raise your hand. So we'll go to Ferda. Ferda next, who's been very busy with foreign affairs. Over to you, Ferda. Hello, Peter, by the way. You're looking a lot better. Ferda was here before. Hi,
Merhaba,
Ferda.
çok teşekkür ederim Sayın Başkanım.
Hello, thanks very much, distinguished chairperson. I would like to thank to my teammates and to the person who made the presentation today. My purpose is to bring Asgardia closer to the people and closer to the space in terms of personal relations and in terms of the country relations. Hopefully, our president, our minister is going to undertake the necessary studies. So let me share the screen.
Şimdi ben tabii kendim daha önce çalıştığım için son sayfada kalmışım. Bir başa geleyim.
Now let me start with the first page.
Öncelikli olarak layout'u kapatacağım.
Primarily, let me turn off the layout.
Zoom üstte kaldığı için bazı şeylere tıklayamıyorum. Kusura bakmayın.
Unfortunately, I'm able to click on some of the buttons because the Zoom window is open. Now, this year we held our fifth meeting, and as you know, we have gone through the first reading of Prime Directive first reading. I would like to thank our Deputy Director, Carl. He worked a lot, and thanks to his work, we are 60%, 70% ready. Together with the LMRG group, we will continue working on this document. Together with John Fine and you, Chairperson, you will be contributing to the final version. And after the amendments, we will be ready to present it to the second round of readings with some slight changes that could be made. We also had two other proposals left for the other digital sitting. It was about the satellites. It was about the law on the international control of satellites, the possible roles of Asgardia might undertake, and we are also working on that. And we are also reviewing our other programs. And for the coming year, we are looking for some new ideas. There are some of our friends who are discussing their ideas with the rest of the team. We have undertaken a social media work, and we also did some other kinds of works. Now, regarding the international relations and foreign affairs, we were thinking on opening an office in Turkey. Probably it's going to be postponed. When we were invited by the Biruni University, by the astrophysics department, we failed in keeping the contact with the department, and we will try to re-establish the contact. And my friends are trying to reach the relevant institutions that might be relevant for their fields. They're trying to explain Asgardia to them, and we'll be exchanging reports regarding our contact activities soon. We believe this is going to be a fruitful year in terms of our foreign relations and foreign affairs. And these projects will continue. Thanks very much.
Thank you, all four of you. I will take questions to those four committees. That is Science, Finance, Citizenship and Foreign Affairs. Ariadne, you raised your hand. Do you want to ask your question now? Yeah, go ahead, Ariadne.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I remember
You can be in Spanish
proposal.
again. You can be back in Spanish, so
Okay.
back to business as
All right.
usual.
Bien. Recuerdo una propuesta que
I remember a proposal that I initiated about the trash in space, and John Fine finished it, and he expanded it, and he put it in a special way. Now that he is in this project of merits and proposals, I forget the acronyms. But I remember that clearly that he has in the archive that document. I would really like for that document to be presented, that we give a presence among the readings. I don't know what John thinks, but hopefully it happens. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other points? Is Ferda raising up? Ferda, do you want to speak further?
Evet, kesinlikle biz Ariadne'nin çalışmasını okuduk. Kanunlar
We read
içerisinde
Ariadne's work, and we are already considering it among other laws. And since we are the Foreign Affairs Committee, we are issuing open invitations. So you can also contribute if you become a member of the LMRG group. So if you think you have some further contributions to make in this field, our doors are wide open. This is what I would like to say. And the next step, preparing a project, it will not be the next stage, because it's going to be the further stage. First of all, we are going to officialize this, and after the third reading, we are going to undertake, if necessary, a detailed work, and you can also contribute at this stage.
Thank you. The LMRG is a really good group. It really is so important. Ferda agrees as well.
Quiero preguntar algo. Dicen que las puertas están
I want to ask
abiertas.
something. They say that the doors are open, but particularly I haven't received any email where I'm invited to participate. So far, I know that the shares are only participating. If they can clarify this, it is a really old document, and John Fine has it in his hands. I don't know when, but we are seeing what Luca has been saying, that we have to make our voices heard and our position respecting that complex situation. And every time it's really more critical with the private industry when now they are seeing that they are getting millions and not they're not observing the damage to the planet. If they could clarify that and inform me more. Thank you.
Well, thank you. John, who is the chair of the LMRG, is next. John.
Yes. Well, as far as the LMRG invitations, we only send out invitations to the sponsors and the chairs and the ministers, and of course the prime minister and the chair of parliament of acts that have passed their first reading. So if it hasn't passed its first reading, you won't get an invitation. It has to pass the first reading in order to get submitted into the LMRG. As far as Ariana's proposal, I think I vaguely remember that. I would have to recall that information. And it looks like the chair of foreign affairs is planning on using her work to for some of her initiatives, the chair. So if you still want to participate in the LMRG, I ask that you reach out to your chairs, because that's your link to the LMRG, other than if you're a sponsor of a piece of legislation that has passed. Because if there's an area being worked on, and this is kind of relates to Luca when he was stating about some of the things that he's considering in his committee, that he may also want to involve himself with the development of the Prime Directive Act, because reading the Prime Directive Act, some of the objectives of the Prime Directive Act also are comparable to some of the objectives that he stated today. And so, and those objectives, of course, will be developed while it's in the LMRG. So Luca may want to pay attention to what's going on in there, because it may actually relate to what he is planning in the future as well. Other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Any other questions to these four committees before we have a break? This will be the only break today, just the one. Okay, thank you. We have done 4 committees: finance, citizenship, foreign affairs, and science. We'll now take a break 12 minutes till 1700. So 1700 UTC, just 12 minutes. Please vote. If you have not voted, please vote. You have 12 minutes to vote. I can tell you then if we've achieved a quorum or if we have not achieved a quorum. I hope we have, but please, please vote now. And I will stay online, and I will be with you. I will be here, but I always put my screen off briefly as I talk to my team. And we'll start in 12 minutes, which is 1700 UTC. I think we'll be finished by 1800. That's my guess. That's what I think. But we have till 2000 if we need to, but I think we'll be finished by 1800. I should say I have had no requests for specific legislation for the priority legislation section. If there is something you want to raise, then you can raise it there, but I don't have any specific requests for legislation in that part at the moment. Right, so we'll see you in 11 minutes. I'm pleased to say we achieved a quorum. We have achieved a quorum. So the voting will count. The voting will count. Let's continue. We have 2 more sets of committees to look at. Information and Communications, Trade and Commerce, Justice, Youth and Education, and then Safety and Security, Equity and Resources, Manufacturing, and Culture. Some of them aren't present, so we will see how many we do before we have the questions. But let's continue with John Fine. John, you're next with Trade and Commerce. Over to you.
Sorry, I was rushing to get back in here.
Hey, 5 o'clock's GMT. Time waits for no man.
Yeah, well, I had to take the dogs out to pee.
Okay, too much information. You won't be able to do that in space.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, maybe you will, but not on any planet we know yet. So yeah. Sorry to cause you trouble there. So it'll be John, Peter. I don't think Corla's here because she has stood down from the role. Then Ricky, and we'll see. Yeah. So yeah, John, Peter, Corner, Ricky, or Trade and Commerce, Justice, Youth and Education, Safety and Security. So John, you're next.
Okay, thank you. Now, and the weird thing is I get out there, and normally I'd have plenty of time to do what I did, but some stranger stops and wants to know the history of the neighborhood I live in, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it was one of those moments.
You should have said you're an important space business.
All right. Well, I'm going to give a presentation, of course. Let's see. This time I'll remember to share my screen. Come on. All right. All right. Y'all see that?
Yes, we can. That's nice. That looks good.
Thank you. This is Trade and Commerce Committee Progress Report. And I always like to start off with a famous quote. Nurture your mind with great thoughts, or you will never go any higher than what you think. And that is from Benjamin. And I'm probably going to mess this up. I'm going to say Disraeli.
That's right. Well done. You got it right in
okay. All right. And he is a British statesman and a former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And that's good advice. My father always said that. What we think is what we are, and then what you take in is what you are. You know, if you think it's bad, then it's going to turn out bad. If you think it's going to turn out great, it's going to turn out great. But you have to continue with that commitment of thinking that it's going to turn out great, no matter what adversity you encounter. The adversity there is to see if you're committed to your endeavor, right? And I believe wholeheartedly the universe does that. It wants to test us to see if we truly believe in what we believe. And so you got to go through the adversity, but you cannot give up on your commitment. Anyway, I'm preaching. So, okay.
You do it well, John. You do it well.
Our members, of course, this is our members. I won't go over there. You can see their names. They're very important people. And of course, as always, whatever level of interaction they have, it's always appreciated. Oh, sorry, hit the wrong button. Our mission With an unwavering commitment, the Trade and Commerce Committee is dedicated to a strong collaboration with Parliament under the guidance of our minister and in alignment with the HON 12 focus areas. I think I got that wrong. I shouldn't be. Oh, yeah, the Minister of Trade and Commerce. That's right. We recognize the crucial role of Parliament in shaping our legislative acts and initiatives. And we aim to frame laws that will propel Asgardia forward in the new space economy, international relations, and all ventures that lead to revenue-generating assets and connections to the United Nations and the international community, both in business and foreign affairs. And these are like our key, never mind. I wasn't going to read over those anyway. Our focus. Our focus, this is our key focus areas. Of course, the first one is legislation. The second one is projects. And the third is collaborative communications. These are all important areas. The future goals that we currently are involved in. Our first priority is, of course, the Asgardia Consumer Protection Act. It was presented for confirmation of the third reading this Parliament session. And we are pleased to announce the advancement of the Consumer Protection Act to its third reading. During the previous parliamentary session, a decision was made to subject the act to the thorough examination by the newly established Legislative Review Group, with the objective of creating a transformative piece of legislation that embodies collaborative efforts between the government and Parliament. It is with great anticipation that we present this act to Parliament, soliciting your ongoing support. The role of the Trade and Commerce Committee in this process transcends mere legislative duties. It reflects our steadfast commitment to fostering a robust consumer protection framework that ensures the safeguarding of our citizens' interest. And when I say citizens, I mean resident citizens. The terms are used as the same term. We really don't have any citizens. We have residents currently. Our future goals. Number 2, the Competition Fair Trade Act, which has also been presented this Parliament session. It is with great honor that we have included this legislative initiative in the newly constituted Legislative Review Group. The discussions and collaborative efforts were robust, resulting in numerous cohesive amendments designed to transform this legislative act into a viable statute at both national and international levels, transcending all borders and equipping Asgardia with the necessary tools to cultivate a thriving economy. Our committee aimed to establish a legal framework that would integrate all other laws and provide the essential guidance required to foster a circular economy that flourishes on Earth and in space operations. The Competition Fair Trade Act is a culmination of these efforts, and we express our gratitude for the support you have extended thus far, while also soliciting your continued assistance as we progress through the second and third readings. Our Above Space Initiative, the Asgardia Industrial Space Park. This proposal aims to provide Asgardia with a means to conduct operations in space while establishing a revenue-generating space station that will enable Asgardia to engage in the emerging space economy. During the transitional period, while awaiting response from the HON, a decision was made to draft a project proposal submittal form accompanied by supporting documentation for consideration by the Asgardia Project Coordination Institute. As part of this process, we are pleased to announce that the Asgardia Project Coordination Institute has granted approval for our project to proceed to Phase 1 investment dossier. The professional feedback received from them will now be evaluated within our committee, which will also collaborate with Above Space to gather additional insights. Subsequently, we will prepare a revised response for APCI and initiate negotiations to engage potential investors. While we acknowledge the significant commitment required for this project from Asgardia, we firmly believe that the return on investment will far exceed any risk or obstacles we may face. TCC is dedicated to ensuring the success of this initiative as it will advance Asgardia's presence in space and position us as a leader in the new space economy. The Asgardia 2 launch project, which was also mentioned in a previous the Science Committee's committee report. In conjunction with various stakeholders, our committee persistently endeavors to devise a cost-effective satellite system for deployment in outer space. Under the guidance of Chairman Benedetto Professo and, of course, Luca in science, we have established a working group composed of Asgardians who are wholeheartedly committed to identifying this solution. We maintain a positive outlook regarding the future prospects of this project. Our committee awards program, the committee has officially initiated its awards program. We recognize that some individuals among us have made remarkable contributions to Asgardia by promoting it to the global community. Any individual who collaborates closely with the Trade and Commerce Committee and meets the established criteria will be eligible to receive an award from our committee. And our committee management platform, and to be honest, we haven't really worked on this much because I've been busy with the LMRG and other areas of responsibility. But the goal is the committee is in the process of developing an organizational management platform intended for comprehensive management of all committee activities. Upon completion, this platform will function akin to a website serving as an exemplary tool for the organization of committee operations. Its features will encompass file upload capabilities, dedicated landing pages, and submission forms. The platform is anticipated to enhance the organization of our committee work, facilitate convenient access, and modernize our engagements. And to be honest, again, we had actually hoped to do this process under an Asgardia. As you know, right now we work under Google, and of course, you know, we'd always planned to have an Asgardia platform like Google, but we hope to create something that can be easily transferred into if Asgardia ever gets its own working system like Google, then we hope to have something ready that can be easily transferred into that system. And the reason why is because I think management is very important. And I will say that the Google platform has all the sufficient needs to keep a good management platform. So I'm not discrediting Google in any way, but and certainly everything in the LMRG is being kept under Google platform, the Asgardia Google platform, and everything in Parliament is being kept in there as well. So and it works very well. And so you know, if that's the platform we continue to use throughout the future, then we will just adjust to that platform. We underscore the ongoing necessity for collaborative support from legal organizations to address international trade and commerce in alignment with Asgardia's financial arc objectives. Your support is critical to this endeavor, and we sincerely value your essential contribution to our efforts. We stress the ongoing need for your support. Now, when I say your, I mean all of Parliament, in our public relations activities, legislative initiatives, and all committee, ministry, and government relations. Your continued collaboration is vital for the success of our future endeavors, and we look forward to working together on these critical initiatives. Our timeline. Year one, we had planned to pass the E-Commerce Act and have it become law, and it did. It became law on August the 30th, 2023. Year two, our goal was to pass the Digital Properties Act and become law, and it did on July 8th, 2024. It was passed and became law also. Year three, which is the year we're in right now, I believe, our goal was to get the Above Space and CPA, the Consumer Protection Act, initiative passed, okay, and made into law with a decree. The Consumer Protection Act is on track for becoming law this year, and but the Above Space initiative is not. That we don't predict will. We're going to have to be moving that one to year four. Year four, our goal was to get the Competition Fair Trade Act passed first and second reading. It's actually on track of being passed in year three. For the first, it's already passed its first reading, and it's on track to pass its second reading for year three, and it may even pass its third reading during year three. So it is definitely on track of meeting all our expectations. And of course, year five was to the final reading of Competition Fair Trade Act and decree. We predict that could actually happen in year three or the early part of year four. We do, in the Competition Fair Trade Act, there are two provisions that talk about other needed legislative acts that we need to work on with the Ministry of Trade and Commerce. And so those will be our future legislative initiatives. We have not done any work on those areas yet, but we will be preparing something at least for the beginning of year four, hopefully. And thank you. And I'm now open for questions. And yeah.
Thanks, John. We'll take your questions to you together with the next three committees, just to keep things moving. Very good as ever. You're very busy. You are very busy, especially with the LMRG now. I really appreciate the work you're doing on that. So let's carry on. Thank you. That was great. Let's go to Peter Morn next as chair of Justice Committee. Peter, over to you. You need to unmute yourself, Peter. Schoolboy error.
Right, try that.
That's better. Now we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. There's very little for me to say as Chairman of the Justice Committee for a number of reasons. I mean, first of all, the Justice Committee really is a gatekeeper for issues coming before the Parliament or affecting the Parliament for legal guidance and legal input. And there haven't really been any except the legislation. And in the proposed legislation, the work has all been taken from us by the LMRG. And I have to pay tribute to John Fines, whose work is just exemplary and has made this a very smooth parliamentary session because he has done so much. And in conjunction with my minister, Mark Beer, whose input has been enormous. And I'm really grateful to them all. Our committee is active in the sense that anything that we need to look at, we look at. But at the moment, we're working really more than anything else with the LMRG and dealing with whatever they raise. So not much to say for you. We have a Justice Committee. I am the chairman of the Justice Committee, but that's really all I can say because we haven't had to do a great deal, courtesy of John Fine and his LMRG. So thank you, John. Please keep it up, and I'll have another quiet year.
Thank you, Peter. The LMLG really is a game changer. It is to our legislative process what the mobile phone was to communications. John is the Nokia of legislation. Thank you very much. Hello, Moto. I don't know if you had that advert internationally. Thank you very much. So, excellent. Really appreciate that. Let's go to Corner. I don't think Corner's with us. Corner, there we have a vacancy there, which I will, as I've said to you already, initially, I was going to have an election for that position here on the digital sitting, but I have to do some other matters first, and we will have that election at some point in the next month or maximum 2 months. I want to get that. We've got some great work. Corner's left the committee in really, really good condition, So I'm hoping that we can do something very useful in terms of the process of getting that new chair in place, and then consider the legislation that Corner has left us with. Ricky, over to you.
Good evening, everybody. Yes, really not a whole lot to report. Currently at this time, nothing to report. I haven't really had contact with our minister, Michael Chirino. I've tried to contact him, but he's very hard to get a hold of. So right now, I don't really know the progress or extent of the implementation of the Cyber Act as to how far along it is with each of the other ministries. And also don't have a budget projection for implementation, which I'm trying to get a hold of. So that's basically it right now for us. Just wanting to make sure that that all of our cyber is taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricky. And I was just checking. I don't think Ross Cheesewright is with us. So let's stop there. The last group, well, I'll just check it, but it'll be Ross, Ria, Benedetto, and Hugo. So let's stop there. Any questions for John, Peter, youth and education, or Ricky? John.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell Ricky that his Cyber Act was one of the documents that got frequently visited during the LMRG. So I wanted to give him a big thank you and appreciation for doing such a great job on that act, because it was used to verify many aspects of what the work that we were doing. And it was very useful and very helpful. So, Ricky, thank you for your committee's work on that act.
Thank you. There's praise. Yeah, Ricky's great, really great in terms of his proactiveness and how he operates, and we're very lucky to have him with us. Okay. Okay, let's go on to the final group then. Thank you. And it'll be Ross. I don't think Ross is with us from Information and Technology today. Ross, if you're not with us, we'll go to Ria next, then Benedetto, then Ugo. Okay. Ria, over to you for
Hi, good day, everyone.
Equity and Resources.
Yes. I just want to confirm you can hear me.
We can hear you very fine. Very well.
Okay,
Thanks.
wonderful. New headset. Okay, Equity and Resources Committee has made a significant progress in expanding the Contracts Act and the Copyright Act with the help of the LMRG Committee. There has been work thoroughly to refine the legislation to align with the Guardian values and future needs. The Copyright Act has been put in front of the Parliament for the third reading, and the Contracts Act again for the second reading. I would just like to thank everybody involved for bringing these acts this far. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Ria is a very hardworking individual, really does great work. And it's just great to be working with her. The legislation that she's putting forward takes a lot of time, and she's very modest. So thank you for the work you're doing. Probably the most time-consuming thing that a member of Asgardia's Parliament can do is move legislation forward. So we are grateful for the work that you're doing there. Really appreciate it. Very much indeed. Benedetto, you're next. Benedetto. I haven't actually said if you checked that you're here. Can't see. If you're here, Benedetto, can you raise your hand? That's because I can't see. Obviously, we have written reports as well. I did see Benedetto here previously. Okay, let's go to see if Ugo is with us. Ugo? Yes, Ugo's here. Hi. Over to you, Ugo, for culture.
Evet, sesim geliyor herhalde şu anda.
Yes, I
Teşekkür
think you
ederim.
can all hear me clear. Thank you very much.
Harika.
Perfect.
Teşekkürler Bay Lembit.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mr. Lembitopik. Thank you so much. I would like to again cordially salute everyone in Asgardia Parliament and our viewers. Thank you so much for this great discussion and for this parliamentary work. I would like to have a very, very short description of what we have done as the Culture Committee. As you also probably know, the rocket is on its way to the lunar surface, and hopefully, if there is no problem, by the beginning of March, the rocket will be landing on Moon, which is a great work. And I have a little surprise. If I can get it done by then, I will share it with you. Apart from that, our committee activities are ongoing. Jose will be undergoing a surgery, an operation as far as I know. I think a heart surgery. So I hope he gets well very soon. Probably after mid-March, we will continue our activities the same. This is for all now with regards to the committee. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, I will be very happy to answer.
Well, just to clarify, to remind us, what is on the on the flight to the moon. What is on that aircraft, on the spacecraft?
Şimdi tabii ki Sayın Başkan.
Well, of course,
Daha
Mr. Chairman,
üyelerimiz de oldu.
we have
Örneğin
also had some
DNA
other
örnekleri diyebiliriz.
members who
Bazı örnekler diyebiliriz
applied
sistem
to, for instance,
olarak.
sending DNA
Ayrıca en önemlisi
samples.
Asgardiya'mızın
But most
ulusal
importantly,
değerleri
we
diye
have some
tasarlamıştık.
national values or
Teknik
national
çıkartıları
assets
toplayacak
of
olursak da
Asgardia,
armamızdan
just to
tutun
speak
da
roughly, from
marşımıza
our
kadar,
emblem
sloganımıza
to
kadar
our national anthem,
ve
from
benim özel
our
karakterim
a
Raiden
motto,
dijital bir
and also
kopyası da
a
buna
digital
dahil.
copy of Raiden, which is
Şu
my
anda
own
roket
special
şemisinde
character, as you probably
yolculuğumuzla
know.
birlikte
They are all
çok hoş
right
hareket
now on the way
edebilmekteyiz.
to the lunar surface right now,
Asgardiya'nın
and
ulusal
that is
marşı,
really,
tekrar
really
söylüyorum,
nice.
marşımız,
And as I said before, our national
bayrağımız,
anthem, our
armamız,
flag, our
sloganımız
emblem, our
şu anda
motto,
gurur vesilesiyle
they are
birlikte
all being
uçuşumuzu
carried
tamamlamak için
towards the moon, which
roket
is
hareketine devam ediyor ve
a
Mars
perfect
başında bir
source of
aksilik
pride for
olmazsa
us. And
ay
hopefully,
üzerinde
it will be
yumuşak bir
landing on
inişle
moon with a soft landing
kargomuz teslim
by the
olacak.
beginning of March.
Umarım o
Hopefully,
günde
that
hep birlikte
cargo
olur.
will
O
be
ana
also
şahit oluruz
delivered
diyorum
to the
Sayın Başkan.
moon. Thank you so much. Hopefully, we will
Söyleyeceklerim
all
bunlardı.
witness that historical moment together.
Thank you very much indeed. Berda.
Teşekkür ederim.
Thank
Uğur
you
Bey,
very
yanlış
much.
hatırlamıyorsam
If I'm
Aydın
not mistaken,
Karaseven'in de
Uğur
görseli
also placed the
yüklenmişti.
the digital version of Raiden
Rainbow
as well
Starship projesinde.
on this
Ayrıca
on the
hatırladığım kadarıyla
spaceship.
sizler resmi
And if I'm
olarak
not mistaken,
patentini aldığınıza dair bir konuşma
you have also
yapmıştınız.
received a
Evet.
patent for that character, if
Dolayısıyla
I'm
bu
not
resmi
mistaken,
olarak
right?
açıklanabilir.
Uğur, can you also maybe
Lütfen.
declare
Çok
that
güzel olur. Çok
officially?
Ferda Hanım bu
Yes,
arada
exactly. You are right.
gayet güzel
By
bir
the
konuya
way,
değindi.
Mr.
Aslında
Öpek,
aklımda
Ferda
yoktu ama
reminded me of something
Ferda
really
Hanım'la
nice.
bir telefon konuşmasında
We had
bunu
this phone
anlatmıştım kendisine.
conversation
Buradan
with
da
her,
ilan
so
etmemin bir
I
sakıncası yok.
think it can be
Bayan
officially
Riyadel
also
de bu
announced. And
konuya
also
dahil
Riyadel,
olacak bu
I think,
sohbete
should
ve
be also involved in this discussion, and also our
Bay Del de
Trade and
dahil olmalı.
Commerce
Evet.
Minister should also be,
Söyleyeceğim
I
konu
think,
şu.
involved.
O roketin
So
içerisinde
in that
ayrıca
rocket
aklıma gelmeyen
to
bazı
the
şeyler var.
moon, there are
Bunlardan bir
also
tanesi
some other things.
saygıdeğer Akdeniz
One of
Kültür
them
Bakanı
is
Bayan
that
Cheryl'ın
our
müzik dosyasıyla
minister
ilgili
Cheryl
bir
Gallagher's
belgeleri olabilir
have,
mi?
I
Böyle
think,
bir
a
durum
sound
var.
file, if I'm not
Ayrıca
mistaken,
yine
like a
basılı
music
olarak
file,
benim kitabımın kesin
and
örneği
also
Bay
a
John Fine'da
printed
var. Amerika'ya
copy
göndermiştim kaydıyla.
of my book
O
can be found
kitaptan bir
by
görsel
John
olabilir
Fine.
diye
I had
düşünüyorum. Çok emin
delivered
olmamakla
that
birlikte.
to
Ayrıca
John Fine. I think a copy of
Raiden'in
that
de
or
bir
an image
dijital
of
kopyası
that
var
is also
demiştim ama
included.
gelişme şu yönde.
And
Bayan Riyadil'i
also,
ilgilendiren konu bu. Ve
there is
dijital
something that can
kopyasının
be also of
Raiden'in
interest
resmi olarak
to
tasarımına
Riyadel.
başvurdum. Bunu
I have
ilan edebilirim artık
officially
buradan. Son
officially
halinin
applied
uluslararası
for the patent
tasarımına
for
Raiden'e
Raiden
başvurdum.
and for the
Patent
international
endüstrisinden bunu
final
bekliyorum. Bu
copy
anlaşmayı
or the
kurdum.
image of
Eğer
Raiden
böyle bir
has
şey
been applied
gerçekleşirse
for.
belki
If
Asgardia
we
içerisinde
get that
sağ olun Bayan
patent as well,
Riyadel.
then
Böyle bir şey
and thank you so much,
gerçekleşirse
by the way,
Asgardia
Riyadel.
içerisinde
So
ben
if
de
that happens, then
şirketleşme konusunda bir
hopefully I
başvuracağım.
will be
Ben
also taking my
Starshop'u
steps to
karakterimizle, yüzüyle temsil
have
etmek
our
isterim.
Star Shop
Daha ileriye
filled
gitmesini
with
isterim.
Raiden. I
Asgardia'nın
really
para ve
want
kazanç
Raiden to
sağlamasını
really
isterim.
move
Çünkü
forward because I want
hiçbir
Asgardia
menfaat
to
elde
make profit
etmeden
from it as well.
popülerler Asgardia'ya
Because up
olan
until
bağlılığı
now,
ve
I
üyeliği
have been
devam etti.
always
Bizden sonra yeteneklerinin bir karşılığı
bound
olarak
by Asgardia
Asgardia'ya bir fayda
without
sağlamak isterim Sayın Yönetmenim.
without any
Yine
kind
bunun
of
için kendi
profit or
bütçemden
any other
para
type of
ayırdım.
thing.
Kendi
So I
zamanımı
have
ayırdım.
allocated my
İşleri bu
budgets,
noktaya
my
kadar
time
getirdim. Kendiniz
to
biliyorsunuz.
receive
Çalışmalarıma
the
Bakü'de de
patent for
yakinen
Raiden.
şahit olduğunuz
As
için
you have also
daha önce de
witnessed to my personal
sembolümün yani
efforts
Raiden'in
and
birer
works.
örneklerini sizlere
So,
dağıttım.
as you
Dünya
may
dört bir
remember, I
yerine
also
Kuala
shared
Lumpur'dan
some of the
Bayan
symbols or
Ariadne
images of
Meksika'ya,
Raiden
Amerika'ya,
to
dünyanın dört bir
Mexico,
yanına
to
seyahat etti.
United
Ama
States,
artık onu
all around the world.
ticari
Raiden has
olarak
been there.
düşünebiliriz.
So I hopefully
Patentten olumlu
think
bir
that
yanıt gelirse bu
it will
konuda
turn into a
Asgardia ile
commercial
ilgili
asset
bir
from now
çalışma
on.
yapmayı
And if that
umuyorum
happens, moments, I will be sharing the details with you as the chair of the Culture Committee. And I hope that I have also achieved the assignments or the appointments made by the parliaments and by Mr. Öpik. So thank you so much. I have been, in this position for some time, and hopefully I'm serving the purposes of Asgardia, the space nation. So from now on, I will continue to work for Asgardia, and my heart will continue to beat for Asgardia. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You are one of the great ambassadors for Asgardia, and we thank you sincerely for the important work that you do. Well done, sir. Any other questions for any of these committees? And that's information communications, equity resources, manufacturing, or culture. Benedetto. Benedetto, hi.
Yes,
I saw you here before, yes. I thought you were
sorry,
here.
I had to restart my computer because I had a problem, so it's why
Great.
I had to leave the meeting, but I can do my presentation if you want.
Yes, please. Yeah, that is great. I saw you here before. It was a mystery whenever you were missing. That's good to see you. Over to you.
So now I think you see my screen. Not yet. Now it's okay.
Yes, we see it. Thank you. Great. Great. Over to you.
Good. So we will speak again about the app key because it's the main stream of the manufacturing committee. And so the app key is continuing to grow. And we have one startup in creation. So I remind that AppKey is the Asgardia Project Coordination Institute, which is responsible for coordinating, supporting, and managing Asgardia's keys project. And I will add that it is directly related with what Minister Bogen said yesterday about the economy of Asgardia. So today we have a website, the appkey.space. We have a logo. And so we try to make Asgardian initiative a success. So the project we are in progress, we have 5 today. One is in the run with a woman from Italy, which is from Poland at the basics. And we are doing with her a new startup in Italy. And she will do it with Asgardia Trade and to help Asgardia grow. So we will continue to do that. Normally, I will become the CTO of this company, and I will give some more details in the next weeks, I think. So for the others projects, we have the one from John. He speak about that in his committee. So we see how we can go forward with it. I have a project with Sarah. Sarah, please, if you have some feedback to give me, I'm interested in. And we have the digital space library. But for the moment it's freezed. We have to work on it with Ugur to see exactly what we do, because for the moment we state a team and it's not working so well. So we have to make something better. And the last project today is about the crypto community. We have some people from the Discord of Asgardia, which are in the crypto community too. And we are looking to make a project with them. And I work on that directly with Minister Bogen. He's looking on what we can do or not with that. So for the achievements with Jacob Mulder, we did the first website with our own system to manage a project. John Fine just spoke about that before. And so here is the website. I will just connect to so that you have a look on it. Sorry. It's better so. So we have a website in which we can manage work task. Here we have the one from the DSL. You know that I have the Offers Italy, which is another one, and in which we can have the files we want. It can duplicate. It can be a duplication of the Google system. So we have to test it with John Fine maybe to see what we will do with that. You have to say to know that this server is our server of Asgardia, and it's owned by Jacob and me. And so the next step is prepare a second project to go, maybe the one of John, and involve project owner on the next cloud because we didn't test it until now. So for the upcoming projects, we need more initiatives. With what we heard yesterday, I think that we need more initiative to involve more Asgardian in the project to make this more dynamics. So if you have idea, don't hesitate. We have to really do that in the next week. Making laws is good, but we have to do an economy to make something happen. So don't hesitate to join the app key and be part of the shaping the future of Asgardia. Together, we can turn visionary ideas into groundbreaking projects and make Asgardia grow. So don't hesitate to contribute, and thank you.
Thank you very much. What a great presentation. And I'm glad you got back in time. Ugo.
Teşekkür ederim Sayın
Thank
Başkan.
you very much, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I would like to thank once again dear Benedetto Professor for this nice presentation. And as he also mentioned at the beginning of his speech, he referred to DSL and he also referred to me. He is right. We have been working on DSL with Benedetto, and we have never given up, and we will continue to work our efforts. And if we can make it functional, it will be a great asset for Asgardia. So I just have an open invitation to all parliamentarians. Please share your ideas, opinions, any kind of feedback with us, or any kind of service or support that you can provide, because although we try to do our best with like 5 or 10 people, we always need new ideas, because at some point existing ideas can clock and you can need further ideas. And also, before I opened my computer, sorry, before Benedetto was online, I had my presentation. I don't know if he has heard or seen my presentation. Was he online? Okay. Thank you so much. So now that he has seen my presentation, and I will be contacting with Benedetto about Raidin as well. Thank you so much for giving me the floor.
Thank you very much. That's really appreciated. And John.
Yes, I was just wondering, on Benedetto, currently on the website, the people with projects that are in the APCA or the institute don't have like a sign-in landing page or whatever, so they can see the progress and all that other stuff. Is that planned to be? Is there any plans to have a sign-in page like what we saw you signed into?
John, I can send you the link of the website so that you can have it, and I will create for you a user so that you can have access to it.
Okay, well, no, I have a link to the website, but it doesn't have a...
I have to create the user before.
Oh, okay, yeah. I looked to see if it had like a login aspect to it, and I didn't see anything. Okay, all right.
Any other questions or comments for any of our colleagues here? Okay, thank you. Oh, Ariadne.
Well, I puse in the chat, how much does a server that will be used cost? About the esa aplicación que está mostrándonos Benedetto.
That Benedetto is
¿Qué le va a
showing us,
costar el usarla? ¿Y
who's
cuánto es el costo?
paying for that,
Gracias.
and how much is the cost? What's the cost of it? Thank you.
To be clear and transparent about that, the server is paid with the budget we asked for from the Minister Jacob, from the Minister of the Manufacturing. So this is the server of Asgardia under our own comment je peux dire ça? Control. So it is already paid by the budget we got from Asgardia for that.
Thank you. Any other questions for Benedetto, or indeed any of the others in this group? Okay. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, let's carry on with a summary. We have now had all, I think, but just 3 of the committee chairs. There's 1 vacancy, so 2 committee chairs. The other 9 out of the 10 have been 9 out of the 11. Sorry, have presented. So thank you very much indeed for that, and well done, Benedetto. You got here just in time to do that as well. Looking ahead, then, that concludes the parliamentary committee reports. There will be an election for youth and education position. Not yet, because I need to do some other technical things before then. But I really appreciate the work that you're doing. Once again, we benefit from having many individuals helping us with the translation, and that saves us a great deal of time. Now, moving on, I'm just basically the next one, I haven't had any notice of priority acts which colleagues would like to share. If there is something you think we are missing, you can share now, or get in touch with me. I'll come to John in a second. The process, just to clarify one thing, the process is quite simple. If a piece of legislation begins, it goes through first reading without the LMRG, without John's committee. If it is passed at first reading, then it goes to the LMRG. The reason is simple. If something does not get the initial approval of Parliament, there is no point at all in spending the LMRG's time on it, because the LMRG will spend many, many hours, dozens of hours, maybe over 100 hours on each item because of the people on it. So the first part the Chair of Parliament works through with the person who's putting it forward, and then I hand it to John. That's the reason second and third reading go through LMRG, but the first reading does not. That's all I had for priority acts. But John, what would you like to say?
Well, it's not a priority act. I was just referring you to the comment section. There is a nomination that somebody has submitted on themselves to be the Education and Youth Committee chair. So I thought I would bring that to your attention.
Where are you looking?
In the comment section.
Okay. I have so much to look at. I didn't see that.
Dr.
Dr. Sahabatin.
Okay, great. That's great. Well, what we'll do is once I manage to get to the process of doing that election, then we will do this properly. And so that's great. Noted. Thank you. I need to do a few other logistics before we do this, but I'm really grateful that we have candidates who would like to take that position on. That's really good news. So thank you. Thanks. I just asked my team, Aliona and Linda, to make a note that Sabahat team would like to be considered as one of the candidates. And we will get this done in the next weeks. I expect to get this completed in March. Thanks, John. Anyone else on the priority acts? If I go to the exciting part, which is the result of the votes. Okay, let me summarize what we have done today. Announcements, we had great guest speakers. We spent a long time on it, but it was worth it, I think. Really interesting to hear the positions, the discussion points, and the positions of experience which have been gained by our colleagues, obviously one of whom is a Asgardian member of Parliament. And I had the honour of meeting the other space traveller at the Baku International IAC, International Astronomical Convention in Baku. And I was very pleased to meet her. And she was excited to meet Head of Nation. It was a great interaction, actually. So we've done we've done quite a lot to understand that the immersion project, which is based on an interest and on a extended moon stay, but it's relevant to the Mars trip as well, as I said. I mentioned Mars before because I have been watching a series about habitation of Mars, which I hope I will see in my lifetime. We've had the parliamentary committee work covered. We've talked about priority acts. So it leads me to the last significant item for today. Yesterday we discussed a number of acts, and we had a number of things that people were voting on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items. So here are the results, preliminary results. They have to be confirmed, of course, but the preliminary results of the voting. First of all, we had 89 individuals registered. So we are quorate. That's more than 50% plus 1. So all of these votes count. For the agenda, yes, 86. No 1, abstentions 1. So the agenda was passed, but it's really a quorum count. On the Asgardia Galactic Prime Directive Act, that's in favour 80, the first reading, against 3, and abstentions 4. So that gets the second reading. Congratulations, Fada. Great news. Big story that I think we can do quite a lot to promote that particular item in the months ahead. The Asgardia Competition Act, that is also, sorry, I do have a slight cough, not much. The Asgardia Competition and Fair Trade Act, second reading. John Fine's work gets 81 in favour, 2 against, and 4 abstentions. So well done, John. That goes to third reading provisionally. The Competition Act, those in favour were the Asgardia Competition, sorry, so I've just done that. The Asgardia Tax Act, second reading. Those in favour, 81. Those against, 3. And abstentions, 3. So well done to Sarah and also to Alexander Rizzi, who did so much work on that. It still needs to go through third reading, but it means at the conclusion of our activities today, we have got that to third reading. And it'll still need some work probably because a lot of people have interest in what's going on in the tax world. We have to make sure we get this absolutely right. Moving on to the Asgardia Contracts Act, second reading. And this is a recycle because of the large amount of input that went through the LMRG. In favour, 82. Against, 1. Abstentions, 4. So congratulations, that's been passed as well. On the Asgardia Copyright Act, third reading, final stage, Riedell's work. 82 in favour, 2 against, and 3 abstentions. So you've got it through to third reading Well done, Ria. As I say, strong words softly spoken with Ria, but she really does deliver. And the Asgardia Consumer Protection Act third reading, another recycle, in favour 80, against 4, abstentions 3. Congratulations, John. Well done to everyone who's managing legislation. It's really great that you do it. Somebody asked me why are there such large numbers in favour. It's because we deal with the issues as we go along. There's no point in putting something through which is so controversial people don't like it at the end. So the process we have creates legislation which makes sense. One of the reasons I think we get those high yes votes also is because we do not have political parties playing games for their own interests. So congratulations, everybody. That leads me to the final items, my closing remarks. This is our 8th sitting in this term. This makes us incomparably more experienced than any other institution on planet Earth in terms of running a fully functional digital democracy. And it's a credit to you that it all works so effectively. So thank you to colleagues here. Also thanks to the government, because we have found a way, after some difficult first months at the very beginning in 2018, 2019, found a way for government and parliament to work together. I think we can do even more, but it seems to be working. And I'm pleased with how well that works. But the final thing is this. We're now reaching to space. Next Sunday, we'll have, as Ugo said, and others have commented also, we'll have our first representation on planet, well, on satellite moon, on the celestial object there. And in a real sense, there will be something on the moon of Asgardia. And later on this year, there'll be something of some of us in Asgardia on the moon too. And we thank Cheryl Gallagher for all of her work on that, and Ugo as well for the work he's done. His art will be there long after we are not here. And I think that's a big step forward. So I hope that in the next few months between now and the next digital sitting, we will have something to really celebrate. And I invite you to attend next on the 2nd of March in the morning, my birthday, my 60th birthday, as we watch to see if it makes a safe landing or not. The only other thing I want to do is thank our interpreters. They are game-changingly effective. They turbocharge how effective we are, because we do have 4 times more hours than we did before, because with simultaneous translation, we save 75% of the interpretation time. Thank you. All over the world, they're based. I would like to add 2 more languages before the end of this parliamentary session, maybe more. I need to speak with the head of nation about that too. And one request, please, if you're watching and you like what you see, join Asgardia as a resident. €100, dollars, pounds, or solars, our currency, will buy you residency, and you can be involved in all of the civic life of Asgardia. And the other request is that we remember to be grateful for our head of nation, Dr. Igor Asher-Bailey, whose vision has brought us together. We are all over the world, but united with one common purpose, which is the long-term peaceful habitation of space by our species and perhaps other organisms from our planet too. It's in our nature to travel, and in the nature of Asgardia to do it in the interests of all humankind. Thank you very much. And with that, we will conclude. I got the timing almost. After John. Go ahead, John.
Yes, I wanted to let Ferda know that I asked Carl to send me the latest document, or the latest approved version of the Prime Directive Act, and preferably in a Word format. I need that so that I can create the LMRG document, which I haven't done yet. And once I create the LMRG document on that act, I'll have everything ready to send out invitations. So if you give me the latest version you have, I'll be I should be able to create that document tonight. And if not, I will get it done this week. So.
Thank you, John. Really appreciate that. Business is working well.
Carl hızlı çalışıyor derken bunu kastediyordum. Zaten bu
This is what I meant by saying that Carl was working very fast because we managed to prepare the document before the digital setting. It has been already sent to the Parliament administration. I'm going to forward that email to you, John. Thanks very much.
Thank you as well. And it's the right process. And the LMRG is a game changer, as I said. So with that, I thank everybody, my team as well. They actually got me to do things on time this time. Let's keep it that way. And hopefully with further innovations in organisation, we take the stress out of the great things that we do. As always, after the Asgardia national anthem ends, then we finish our session. So let's play that national anthem. And thank you once again for everyone who's been involved. One humanity, one unity. Linda, if we can play the national anthem and close the sitting. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. We can stop the recording.